I Chin Ming Dao, walking into the Crow Cottage for the first time like some tourist visiting a haunted house. This place looked like somebody's grandma built a windmill while drunk, all crooked wood with a creepy black crow statue on top. And let me tell you, that crow's red eyes? They followed you, like a judgmental bird security camera. My skin was crawling before I even touched the door. I told Ilya and the others to wait outside. Ilya looked at me like I was volunteering to walk into a dragon's mouth. Fair enough. Inside, it was dark and moody, and out floated this woman in a full black robe and pointy hat, the whole witch starter kit. But holy smokes, her face was gorgeous. Prettier than Ilya even, which I didn't think was possible. Of course, the scary outfit kind of killed the vibe. Hard to flirt when someone looks like they might turn you into a frog. She asked if I wanted healing potions. I said yes and called her respected wizard. She laughed and said she wasn't even an apprentice, just a servant. But I cranked the charm to maximum. I told her even being a wizard servant made her 100 times cooler than us sword-swinging idiots. Her name was Lillian, and she actually liked my smooth talking. Apparently most mercenaries just grab their potions and run away like scared chickens. Not me. I'm built different. I casually asked if I had wizard potential. She basically said, if you got it, a wizard will find you. If not, stop dreaming. Cool. Dreams crushed in 3 seconds. New personal record. I bought 2 healing potions, 10 gold coins each, tiny little bottles barely bigger than my thumb. Then I looked at the other prices on the shelf. Life potions, 800 gold. Antidote, 100 gold. The whole shelf was worth tens of thousands. My wallet started crying inside my pocket. But then Lillian threw me a bonus. She handed me a parchment listing magic materials the shop wanted to buy. Zombie teeth, death mushrooms, wolf lungs, real normal grocery list stuff. Each item worth crazy money though. I'm pretty sure she only gave me this info because I was being charming. The power of being a sweet talker, people. Never underestimate it. Outside, Ilya practically tackled me with relief. Even as a trainee knight, she was still terrified of wizards. Girl could swing a sword at bandits no problem. But a lady in a pointy hat? Nope. Too spooky. Next stop, shopping spree. We hit the horse market and bought 2 old horses and 2 carts with rain covers for 30 gold coins. Added camping supplies and a personal tent for me. Another 5 gold coins gone. My money was evaporating faster than morning dew. We rolled back to Eagle Beak Valley, and I immediately gave the order. 1 day of rest, no training, save your energy. Tomorrow we ride out to fight. I also expanded my squad with everyone who passed the last evaluation. My army now stood at a glorious 24 soldiers. 12 Swadian recruits, 2 Swadian light infantry, 1 Derrick warrior, 3 Derrick recruits, 1 Doro archer, 2 Doro recruits, 1 female guard, 1 apprentice blacksmith, and 1 apprentice carpenter. Look, it's not exactly a world-conquering force, but hey, we had variety. Right before departure, my carpenter Soros handed me custom-made armor pieces, shoulder guards, leg guards, wrist guards, and a leather cap. 3 layers of leather with iron wire sandwiched in between. I tried them on and they fit perfectly. The man had skills. He even made basic gear for the other soldiers, though not as fancy. The squad leaders got the full set. Regular soldiers got whatever scraps were left. Fashion and equality already existed in my army. Weapons-wise, everyone was finally armed up. Swadians got swords, shields, and spears. Directs got axes because apparently that's their whole personality. Doro archers got bows and backup swords, 60 arrows each. My best archer Bandak even scored special wolf-fang arrows and a small round shield. In this world, getting a decent sword was harder than getting a college degree. So honestly, having everyone armed at all felt like a miracle. 24 soldiers, 2 rickety carts, and 1 guy with a system advantage against an entire dangerous wasteland. What could possibly go wrong? Before we rolled out, Ilya hit me with the most obvious question ever. Boss, if we all leave, who watches Eagle Beak Valley? Oh, right. Can't just leave home base completely empty like an unlocked house with a, please rob me, sign. So I put together a little leadership committee. Soros the carpenter got top dog status. The guy's loyalty score was solid in my system, plus he's older and wiser. Wibart the blacksmith joined him, and we promoted 1 militia captain picked by the squad leaders. Simple rules. Guard the valley, don't leave the valley. That's it. 2 rules. Even a goldfish could follow them. And here's the fun part. The moment I announced Soros was in charge, his loyalty shot up 10 points. Wibart's jumped 6. Turns out giving men a tiny taste of power is the universal motivation hack. Works in medieval fantasy worlds, works in corporate offices. Humanity never changes. We arrived at Black Rock City's East Gate right on schedule, and Baruko greeted me like an old buddy. Behind him, a massive convoy. 20 rickety carts, 15 packed with slaves all roped together like the world's saddest conga line, 5 more loaded with supplies. The whole thing stretched out like a sad medieval freight train. Now, Baruko's crew of 27 mercenaries all had horses. Mostly crappy horses, but still, horses. Then there was the real escort. 20 cavalry soldiers from the employer, equipped like they stepped out of a luxury armor catalog. Their leader wore full shining plate armor, a face-covering steel helmet, guards on every joint. Basically, a walking tank. I estimated he was at least a high-level trainee knight, because wearing that much metal without collapsing requires serious strength stats. From the banners, I figured out the employer belonged to the Fire Lion family, one of the 5 great duke families of the Swadian Empire. Big leagues. And here I was with my bargain bin army and 2 wobbly carts. Speaking of which, the other mercenaries took one look at my troops, most of them on foot, crammed into carts, and their faces screamed, "Who invited the kindergarten class? Yeah, laugh it up, guys." Then Baruko dropped the assignment on me. You take the front. Scout ahead. Stay about a kilometer ahead of the convoy. Translation: congratulations, you're the canary in the coal mine. If something nasty is waiting down the road, my team gets to discover it first. With our faces. Wonderful. But honestly, I didn't argue. Being up front meant getting information first, and with Bandak's scouting skills, we wouldn't be totally blind. I sent Bandak even further ahead, another kilometer in front of us, with signal arrows for emergencies. The guy moved through terrain like a caffeinated squirrel, way faster than our carts. First day, nothing happened. We just crawled along a bumpy road heading east, eating dust. At sunset, the order came to set up camp. The employer wanted 3 separate mercenary camps surrounding the convoy in a triangle formation, with the slaves and supplies protected in the middle. Smart. Also kind of insulting. Clearly the employer didn't fully trust us mercenaries either. Stay close enough to protect us, far enough that you can't steal anything. Classic rich people energy. I got assigned the front camp. Solo. Naturally. Now, I know absolutely nothing about setting up wilderness camps. 0. My previous life expertise included ordering takeout and binge-watching shows, not exactly survival training. So I asked around, and lucky me, Bandak and Nick had been dragged across the continent as slaves before, so they'd seen plenty of camp setups. I handed the whole operation to Bandak. I did contribute some ideas from my modern brain though, little improvements that boosted our security. Then I casually rode around inspecting everyone else's camps like some kind of medieval building inspector. Most mercenary camps? Sloppy. The Wild Bull mercenary group was decent. But the Fire Lion cavalry camp? Chef's kiss. Professional, well-organized, tons of good tricks worth stealing for next time. My guys set up barricades, dug traps around the perimeter, left 2 exits, and found a big rock in the center. Perfect elevated sniper nest for a night watchman with a bow. Not bad for a bunch of rookies. Night fell, campfires went up, and Ilya got cooking. Bandak had killed 6 wild chickens during his scouting run. The man hunts while he works, absolute legend. So Ilya made a huge pot of chicken soup. Everyone got a big bowl, plus black bread, beef jerky, and pickled vegetables. Out here in the wilderness, eating like this felt like a 5-star restaurant experience. And obviously, the best chicken pieces went to me first. Perks of being the boss. The one perk, honestly, because everything else about this job was stress. 3 peaceful days passed. No monsters, no bandits, no drama. Just boring marching. Then we hit a massive mountain range that looked like it was trying to poke holes in the sky, and Baruko pointed at it with a grim face. Past Mitch Fortress in the Carolo Mountains, we enter the wildlands. After that, we follow the edge of the mist forest. It gets dangerous. Watch yourself up front. Oh, fantastic. So the easy part, where nothing happened, was the good part. And now we're heading into the zone where things actually want to kill us. While I'm walking point, with my discount army, this is fine. Everything is fine. We finally reached the Karelo Mountains, massive walls of rock stabbing into the clouds, basically nature's way of saying, turn back, idiot. On the other side, the wilderness, the scary part. And the only way through was a 10-kilometer valley corridor running along the edge of the mist forest, which sounded about as safe as sleepwalking through a minefield. Sitting on a little hill at the forest's edge was Mitch Fortress, a big stone castle permanently staffed by real knights whose job was to stop high-level monsters from waltzing into the empire like uninvited party guests. The fortress also doubled as the last shopping mall before entering the wasteland. Taverns, general stores, leather shops, blacksmiths, even a slave dealer, your one-stop shop for things you'll desperately wish you bought later. Getting in required a toll, 1 silver coin per person. But I flashed my Wind Dragon family crest and walked right through for free. The mercenaries behind me? They had to pay. Sometimes having a fancy last name from a dead family still has perks. It's like having an expired coupon that somehow still works. Inside, there was a big plaza where traveling groups could camp. My guy set up quickly, and Ilya pointed out a wanted poster board nearby. I checked it out. 5 leaders of the Vulture Thieves gang, 50 gold coins each for their heads. Below them, a whole menu of smaller bounties on bandits and evil knights. I mentally bookmarked it like a shopping wish list. Murder shopping, technically, but hey, money is money. Night came. Most mercenaries sprinted to the tavern like they hadn't seen alcohol in years. My team? We stayed put like disciplined soldiers. Even the Fire Lion cavalry stayed in camp. We were accidentally being professional together. Then something unexpected happened. The cavalry captain, Ged Harrow, the walking tank guy in the fancy armor, came to visit MY camp. When he showed up without his armor, he turned out to be this handsome 20-year-old with flowing golden hair, like a shampoo commercial with a sword. He was polite, almost weirdly respectful toward me. Ilya, bless her noble-born heart, had prepared pine nut tea for exactly this kind of occasion. Because even if your family is broke and you're basically a glorified mercenary, property service must be maintained. I thought it was unnecessary, but honestly, it worked. Ged sat down, and we talked like 2 gentlemen instead of 2 sweaty guys in a dusty fortress. He asked if I was really from the Wind Dragon bloodline. I didn't hide it. I'd already shown the badge at the gate, so lying would have been pointless. I told him straight up, family's gone. I'm doing mercenary work to save up for a pioneer license. Then Ged hit me with the compliments. Said my troops were disciplined, well-organized, nothing like those sloppy mercenaries. I'm not gonna lie, that felt good. Like getting a 5-star review from a professional. But then the conversation got really interesting. Ged started spilling insider knowledge about pioneering that I desperately needed. Turns out, the Empire has 3 pioneer zones. The Bloody Plateau up north, the Eastern Wasteland in the middle, and the Death Swamp down south. Eastern Wasteland is the best option. Death Swamp is basically a suicide note with a mailing address. That part one knew. What I didn't know? The Fire Dragon royal family, who rose to power after MY family fell, had completely hijacked the land assignment system. They controlled which pioneers got which plots, and they were using it to screw over rival noble families. Ged's boss was a second son of the Fire Lion Duke family, and they got assigned land 500 kilometers from the mountains even though perfectly good land existed within 300 kilometers. Pure political spite. Ged explained the distance rules. Within 300 kilometers of the mountains was good land. 300 to 600 was rough, and beyond 600, you're dead. Just dead. Don't even bother packing. His family was so angry about getting shafted that they were dumping massive resources into making their distant plot work out of sheer stubbornness. Rich people revenge is a whole different level. Then he told me about what actually lives out there. Goblins. Endless goblins, like cockroaches with weapons. Magical beasts, undead creatures, trolls, ogres, lizard people. Basically a monster buffet where you're the food. His territory had a level 1 wind wolf nearby, which doesn't sound terrible until he mentioned that one magical beast attracts hundreds of regular predators around it. They'd already lost over 1,000 slaves to these attacks. Several mercenary teams, and even a full mercenary company had tried hunting the wolf and failed. The good news? His family was sending an actual formal knight, the real deal, to deal with the wolf within a month. In the meantime, they were buying slaves to build defensive fortifications as fast as possible. We talked for a long time after that. Ged held nothing back, sharing everything he knew about surviving in the wasteland. By the time he left, my brain was stuffed with useful information like a Thanksgiving turkey. I thanked him sincerely. This was gold, better than gold, actually. Gold I could earn. But first-hand knowledge from someone already out there struggling? That was priceless. Also, I quietly filed away one very important detail. The Fire Dragon family controls the land assignments. Which means when I eventually apply for my Pioneer license, I might get deliberately screwed over too. My family name isn't exactly on their Christmas card list. Fun times ahead. Really looking forward to it. Can't wait. Totally not panicking. After Ged left, Ilya, who'd been quietly pouring tea the whole time like a spy disguised as a waitress, leaned in and whispered, "That night might have ulterior motives, smart girl. When someone you just met dumps that much valuable information on you, they either genuinely like you or they're buttering you up for something." I filed it under suspicious but useful and moved on. Next morning, back on the road. Me and my discount army up front as usual, human mind detectors for the convoy. The scenery was absolutely terrifying in the most beautiful way possible. North side, mountains so tall they made skyscrapers look like Lego blocks. I couldn't even see the tops. South side, the mist forest, with trees the size of apartment buildings wrapped in creepy fog, and occasional monster roars echoing from deep inside, like nature's horror movie soundtrack. Everyone got tense. Then nothing happened for hours. The mercenaries who'd partied all night at the tavern, spending their energy on booze and bar girls, started yawning and dozing off on their horses. Real professional guys. Really inspiring confidence here. Then early afternoon, we cleared the mountain pass and officially stepped into the eastern wasteland. The sun was brutal, everyone was drowsy, and FW Bandak's signal arrow screamed into the sky. My brain switched to combat mode instantly. "Formation," I screamed, and my troops moved like we'd rehearsed this 1,000 times. We found a half-moon cliff indentation, perfect natural cover, and backed into it. Carts flipped sideways to block the opening. Swadian shield guys plugged the gaps. Derek axe warriors jumped on top of the carts for high ground advantage. Bandak, Ilya, and the Doro archers scrambled onto two 5-meter stone platforms inside the cliff like medieval sniper nests. Horses got pulled behind everything, because losing your transportation out here equals death. Bandak came sprinting back. Goblins. Tons of them. I sent Benekuk running to warn the convoy. He reached Barutko, who responded with the military equivalent of, "LOL, calm down." One of Barutko's mercenaries literally laughed out loud. "Goblins? Those ugly little runts? I can kill 10 by myself. Last time we saw 100 of them. One charge, and we slaughtered 80. Tell your boss to stop being a coward." Benekuk came back with this message. I could see the fury in his eyes from being mocked. But I wasn't looking at Benekuk. I was looking at the forest. Because pouring out of those misty trees was not 100 goblins. Not 200. Not 500. Thousands. A green tidal wave of ugly. Dark green skin, red eyes, pointy ears, patchy hair, faces only a mother goblin could love, and even she'd probably flinch. About 1.4 meters tall each, carrying janky swords, wooden clubs, and crude spears, wearing animal skins or literally leaves stitched together. And they just kept coming, and coming, and coming, like someone kicked over the universe's ugliest anthill. Hold formation. Archers, don't waste arrows. Pick off the biggest ones. I grabbed my broadsword and arm shield and charged to the front line. Because when your army is 20-something soldiers facing thousands of monsters, the boss doesn't get to sit in the back sipping pine nut tea. And you know what happened to Barutko, mister? Goblins are nothing. He was 500 meters behind me when the green flood hit, with zero preparation time because he'd ignored my warning. His mercenaries, already disorganized individuals who fought solo by habit, got instantly surrounded and separated. Surprise. Turns out being arrogant about monsters is a bad survival strategy. Who could have possibly predicted this? Ged, to his credit, reacted fast. He ordered his cavalry to cut the slave ropes, swing the carts into a circle on the narrow mountain road, and dismount to form a defensive ring. Then, brilliant move, he yelled at the slaves. "You belong to Harling's territory. You want to live? Fight. Rip the cart shafts off for clubs, grab rocks, kill everything green. Survive today and everyone gets white bread and meat soup, and I'll feed you properly the whole trip." Nothing motivates like the choice between fight with a stick and get eaten. The slaves grabbed makeshift weapons and filled the gaps between cavalry soldiers. Ged's noble upbringing was showing. His tactical instincts were leagues above these freelance mercenaries. Benekuk barely made it back to our formation before the wave hit. He grabbed a shield off the ground and jumped into line. Good man. Then the killing started. I was at the front, broadsword swinging, and I dropped 3 goblins in my first breath. Blood everywhere. The Tier 3 soldiers, Aileen and the veterans, held the line beside me, hacking through green bodies like lawnmowers through grass. Behind us, Bandak and Ilya were up on the stone platforms raining arrows down, each shot dropping 1 goblin. Precise, efficient, beautiful. 30 minutes later, goblin corpses were piled in a semicircle around our position, stacked 2 meters high. We'd literally built a wall of dead bodies, and still they kept climbing over their own dead friends to attack us. These goblins were supposed to be cowardly. Every source said they'd scatter after taking losses. But these ones had apparently never read their own species manual. Sir, something's wrong. Since when are goblins this suicidal? Nick shouted, panic creeping into his voice. Hold the line, was all I could yell back, because the situation was getting dire. My Tier 1 recruits were done, arms shaking, couldn't lift their weapons anymore. The archers could barely pull their bowstrings. Half an hour of nonstop killing had drained everyone's stamina to fumes. Even me and the Tier 3 veterans were running on maybe 20% energy, fighting on pure willpower and adrenaline. Thousands of goblins versus 24 exhausted soldiers behind a wall of corpses. This was not in the job description. While I was struggling behind my wall of goblin corpses, things were way worse for everyone else. Barutko's mercenaries, you know, the guys who laughed at me for being scared of goblins? Yeah, they got absolutely destroyed. The goblins swarmed their horses first, hacking the animals down with clubs and swords like tiny green lumberjacks. Then they dogpiled the riders. Didn't matter that each mercenary was stronger than any single goblin. When 50 of them jump you like angry green piranhas, strength means nothing. Most of Barutko's crew got killed. Only Barutko and a few high-level knights managed to abandon their horses, hack through the mob, and climb up some cliff ledges to survive. Mister, I can kill 10 goblins by myself, was now hiding on a rock. Poetic justice tastes delicious, even during a life-or-death battle. Ged's formation was holding, though he'd lost some slaves. A few slaves tried to run or refused to fight, so Ged personally cut them down to motivate the others. Brutal? Absolutely. Effective? Unfortunately, also absolutely. With 1,000 slaves, 800 men, 200 women, armed with stolen goblin weapons, his circle defense actually stabilized. Medieval management techniques are horrifying, but they get results. Meanwhile, I checked my system panel and nearly screamed with joy. I'd leveled up twice. Level 5 now. 2 fresh attribute points sitting there like Christmas presents. Better yet, all my recruits were ready to upgrade. Every single one. I didn't hesitate for even a millisecond. 12 Swadian recruits became Swadian militia. 3 Derek recruits became Derek warriors. 2 Doro recruits became Doro hunters. Boom! 17 instant upgrades. The effect was immediate and honestly kind of magical. Fresh energy flooded into all 17 soldiers like someone plugged them into a power outlet. Their exhausted, jelly-armed bodies suddenly surged with doubled strength. They could feel the power coming from me, which bumped their loyalty up 10 points each. They roared back into the fight with renewed fury, smashing goblins left and right. My crumbling defense line snapped back together like it had been superglued. Oh, and my blacksmith and carpenter back at Eaglebeak Valley? Upgrading them cost 2 gold coins each instead of the usual 1. More expensive meant more valuable. I like that math. And here's the wild part. They weren't even here. They were sitting in the valley hundreds of kilometers away, but they still got the experience from our battle and leveled up too. Wibart suddenly understood advanced forging techniques like he'd been hammering steel for 3 extra years. Soros's woodworking skills jumped like he'd built 1,000 cabinets overnight. Both of them felt the power surge and instantly knew it came from me. Loyalty up 10 points. The system is basically a long-distance employee motivation program. But then, because the universe apparently decided I wasn't stressed enough, 3 massive shapes stepped out of the forest. Forest trolls. 3 meters tall. Gray-green wrinkled skin like old tree bark, covered in short steel needle hair, faces that looked like gods started sculpting, got angry, and just punched the clay. Huge fangs poking out of their mouths, each one carrying an enormous black-red iron club that looked like someone ripped a boulder off a mountain and stuck a handle on it. The goblins around them went absolutely crazy with excitement, screeching and cheering like their football team just scored. These trolls were basically goblin kings, and they were marching straight toward us. Bandak identified them immediately. Forest trolls. Adult ones have the strength of a high-level trainee knight. Their skin is tough as light steel armor, and goblins follow them like servants. Great. Just great. So these walking apartment buildings are basically wearing natural armor, and they're strong enough to pancake my soldiers with one swing of those ridiculous clubs. One troll headed for my position. His club was 3 meters long with a basketball-sized knobby end, probably just a chunk of iron or he'd found and ground into shape. Not crafted, just raw caveman engineering, and it would absolutely turn any of my soldiers into paste. I needed to stop this thing before it reached my line. I had exactly one plan: arrows. I grabbed my composite bow, pulled out a wolf-fang arrow, and fired at his eye. The troll saw it coming, swung his massive club in front of his face, and blocked my arrow. This 3-meter ugly idiot had reflexes. Rude. Second arrow, aimed at his heart. It hit, and barely scratched the skin before falling to the ground like a rejected job application. What? My wolf-fang arrows could punch through serious armor. And this thing's skin just said, no thanks. Bandak helpfully added, adult forest troll skin is like light steel armor, basically arrow-proof. Thanks, Bandak. Very encouraging. Love the morale boost. Okay, new strategy. Same spot, every time. If I keep hitting the exact same wound, eventually I'll punch through to his heart. My third arrow hit, but 2 finger widths off from the first wound. Close, but close doesn't kill trolls. Time for desperate measures. I dumped 15 weapon proficiency points into archery, pushing it from 185 to 200. Proficient level. Instantly, years of phantom archery training flooded my brain. My arms, back, and core muscles subtly strengthened. Even my constitution ticked up to 11 from the physical enhancement. The troll was 80 steps away now, closing fast, each thunderous footstep shaking the ground. I drew another wolf-fang arrow. Deep breath, complete focus, aimed at that same tiny wound over his heart. Everything I had. One shot. The arrow hit, right in the same wound, sank deep into that ugly green chest, and the troll let out a scream that probably scared birds 3 countries away. But, and I cannot stress this enough, it still didn't reach the heart. This thing's skin had more layers than an onion wearing a winter coat. The troll just grabbed the arrow, ripped it out along with a chunk of his own flesh, and kept charging. Like a psychopath removing a splinter. 30 steps away now. Basically breathing distance for a 3-meter monster. I fired one more arrow into the exact same spot. Third time's the charm, right? The troll's whole body shuddered. He grabbed his chest, roared one last pathetic roar, and timber crashed to the ground like a demolished building. Dead. Finally. And just like that, every goblin around him collectively remembered they were supposed to be cowards. They scattered like cockroaches when you turn the lights on. The troll was apparently the only reason these little idiots had any courage at all. I leveled up again. That troll was worth insane experience. Plus my archery proficiency jumped 6 more points. Note to self, trolls are horrible to fight, but amazing for grinding stats. Quick inventory management. I stored the horses in my system space because I'm basically a walking parking garage. The troll's iron club? 500 pounds of what I suspected was meteorite iron. Impossibly dense, incredibly hard. If Wibbart could forge this into actual weapons? Chef's kiss. Into the inventory it went. Ilya patched everyone up with healing ointment. Most soldiers had minor scrapes, nothing serious. I was completely untouched thanks to Soros's leather armor set. Best carpenter investment I ever made. Then I led my squad around the cliff bend to check on the convoy, and yikes, it was a massacre scene. Ged's defensive circle had been smashed open by his troll. Goblins were butchering male slaves left and right. Female slaves were being carried away like goblin takeout orders. Ged himself was alive but stuck in a desperate dance with his troll. His knight sword could scratch the thing, but couldn't cut deep enough to matter. He was just dodging and poking, dodging and poking, like fighting a bear with a toothpick. The third troll had basically finished off the remaining mercenaries. Only Barutko and 2 wild bull mercenary buddies were alive, perched on a cliff ledge using the high ground to barely survive. Everyone else, dead or gone. I didn't waste a single second with dramatic speeches. Arrow out. Bow drawn. The troll chasing Ged had his back to me, completely focused on squashing the golden-haired pretty boy. One shot, right through his giant eyeball. He dropped like a sack of ugly potatoes. Great shot, Ged screamed with the enthusiasm of a man who was 3 seconds from death. His troll's goblins scattered instantly. Ged rallied his surviving cavalry and chased after the goblins, carrying away the female slaves. Priorities, I guess. Last troll. This one saw me kill his buddy and was not happy about it. He charged straight at me while covering his eyes and face with his meteorite club. Smart for a troll. Unfortunately for him, smart for a troll is still pretty dumb. Save me, Brother Horde, Barutko screamed from his cliff ledge. Oh, now I'm your brother? 5 hours ago your guys were calling me a coward for being cautious about goblins. Funny how near-death experiences fix attitudes. I climbed a big rock for a better angle. The troll called his goblins back. Even the fleeing ones reluctantly turned around and charged my squad. My soldiers snapped into a circular defense around my rock like a well-oiled machine. 3 months of training paying dividends in blood. The troll was protecting his eyes, but leaving his chest exposed. Rookie mistake, big guy? I went calm, completely zen. 3 arrows, rapid fire, all aimed at the same heart spot. He was running in a straight line, no zigzagging, no dodging, so all 3 punched into the exact same point. Through the skin, through the muscle, straight into the heart. He face-planted 30 steps from my position. The ground actually shook. 3 trolls down. Every goblin in the area collectively lost their minds and fled into the forest screaming. Sir, 3 trolls with this many goblins means there's a huge nest somewhere nearby, Bandak said quietly. I thought for half a second. Chase them. We plunged into the mist forest, hunting fleeing goblins for dozens of miles. Killed plenty more, collected their garbage weapons along the way. Was it reckless? Probably. Was it profitable? Absolutely. Was it satisfying to chase the same creatures that nearly killed us all? You have no idea. Somewhere behind me, Barutko was climbing down from his rock, alive only because the guy he mocked showed up to save his sorry behind. I hope that humble pie tastes good, buddy. You earned every bite. While chasing goblins through the forest, I checked my system and discovered Nick was ready to upgrade to Derrick Infantry. 5 gold coins, pricey, but worth it. After upgrading, the guy's strength hit 500 pounds, and he unlocked throwing axe skills. 50-step range, more destructive than arrows. Basically a medieval grenade launcher with a beard. Our Doro hunters tracked the fleeing goblins through the dense forest like bloodhounds with weapons. Eventually we found it, a hidden valley path, obviously well-traveled, leading to a massive cave entrance tucked under a giant tree canopy, invisible from a distance. Sneaky little green freaks. Charge Iron, I ordered. No time for careful planning. Escaped goblins were already inside, probably destroying evidence like corporate criminals during an FBI raid. Aileen led the way with his shield, Swadians behind him, Derrick warriors next, archers last. We plowed through the few remaining goblin guards like a bowling ball through pins. Then we entered the main chamber, and I want to unsee what I saw. A cavern the size of a football field. Hundreds of human women, legs tied with ropes, chained to the ground. Some pregnant, some nursing baby goblins. Most barely clothed, eyes completely hollow, just empty shells of people who'd given up on life. Some women had 4 or 5 little goblins crawling around them. That's how goblins reproduce. They have no females. They kidnap human women. The nursing mothers were skin and bones. I could tell another pregnancy or 2 would kill them, and the remaining goblins inside. They were killing these women. Couldn't keep the nest, so they were destroying everything. Like evil little scorched earth tacticians. This species shouldn't exist, Bandak growled. First time I'd heard real hatred in his voice. Kill them all, I said. My soldiers wiped out every last goblin in that cave. It wasn't even a fight. It was pest extermination. We searched the whole place. There, pantry, was grass roots, bugs, tree bark, and dead rats. Goblin cuisine makes prison food look like a Michelin restaurant. But in one side cave, we found the treasure room. 50 gold coins, 102 silver, 208 copper. Not bad for creatures who eat beetles. Then Bandak called me over to a corner with barely contained excitement. Sir, iron stone. I rushed over and nearly tripped. There it was, a massive chunk of meteorite iron, identical to the troll clubs. 2 pieces had been chipped off it, clearly where the trolls got their weapons. The remaining chunk had split into 4 irregular pieces, each weighing about 1,000 pounds. I tested my system storage, and yes, all 4 pieces fit into one inventory slot, labeled meteorite iron. If Wibart could forge this stuff into real weapons, we'd have gear that would make knights drool with jealousy. Christmas came early, and it weighed 4,000 pounds. Now, the women. We untied all of them. Hundreds of traumatized survivors standing there, most looking like zombies. The ones who'd been captive longest were completely numb. No crying, no screaming, just walking wherever we pointed them like broken robots. The recently captured ones were sobbing, then laughing, then sobbing again. Emotional roller coaster doesn't even begin to describe it. I decided to bring them back to Ged. He'd lost tons of slaves in the battle and could probably use them. Yeah, I know, going from goblin captives to human slaves isn't exactly a fairy tale rescue. But in this world, being a slave who gets fed is tragically better than being dead. Bottom-tier people's lives in this world are worth less than grass. It made my modern soul ache, but I couldn't fix the entire social system today. I also told Ilya to quietly evaluate the women during the walk back. Any who'd trained in basic combat techniques could potentially join our forces. Ilya herself proved that female soldiers could be excellent. Her skill tree had 4 combat techniques at Tier 3, solid in both melee and archery. Good recruits are hard to find, so you check everywhere. Navigating the mist forest at night was terrifying. Fog everywhere, paths invisible, shadows moving in ways shadows shouldn't move. Thank God Bandak had marked our trail coming in. We followed his breadcrumbs back without getting lost or eaten. Back at the road, the battlefield had been cleaned up. Ged had set up a tight camp near the cliffs with proper barricades and bonfires. When he saw me, he practically ran over. Brother Hort, your archery saved us today. Without you, we'd have been finished. You're the employer. It's literally my job, I said, keeping it cool. Then came the moment I'd been secretly waiting for. Barutko shuffled over, covered in wounds, looking like a cat that fell in a bathtub. I should have listened to you, he mumbled. Peak character development right there. Out of 27 mercenaries, only 5 survived. 5. And all 5 were injured. An entire mercenary force wiped out because one guy decided goblins weren't worth worrying about, and everyone partied the night before a dangerous march. If there's a mercenary textbook somewhere, this battle should be Chapter 1, What Not to Do. The surviving mercenaries weren't even that upset about their dead companions. Apparently, when you choose the sword-licking lifestyle, you accept that any day could be your last. Cold, but practical. We set up our own camp 100 meters ahead of Ged's, back at the same cliff spot where we'd made our stand earlier. My squad leaders got to work immediately. The rescued women waited on the road. I sat down, mentally tallied today's haul. 3 dead trolls, thousands of dead goblins, 2 level-ups, upgraded troops, for 1,000 pounds of meteorite iron, 50 gold coins, hundreds of rescued women, and the eternal satisfaction of watching Barutko eat humble pie. Not a bad Tuesday. Ged, I rescued a bunch of women from the goblin cave. Want them? Listen, I know that sounds absolutely terrible out of context. But in this medieval nightmare world, these women had 0 options, and Ged needed to replace the slaves he lost. It's the worst kind of practical. Ged agreed to buy them at market price, but said the pregnant ones weren't worth much. I made one request: don't kill the pregnant women. He actually laughed and reassured me. They'd let them give birth. Goblin pregnancy is only 3 months, because of course these little monsters breed at turbo speed. Dispose of the goblin babies, let the women recover, then pair them with male slaves as wives. They won't be picky, Ged said with a casual smile that made my modern sensibilities want to crawl into a hole and die. This world, man. This world. Ilya had done her homework during the march back. Out of all the rescued women, 16 were commoners, and 6 of those were actually adventurers who knew swordsmanship or archery before getting captured. The rest were farm slaves snatched from border territories near the Mist Forest. By this world's rules, They were all technically MY property now. But I'm not that guy. I told Ilya to ask the commoners if they wanted to join my team voluntarily. Anyone who didn't want to stay could leave and walk back to Mitch Fortress. 6 women chose to stay, 4 of them former adventurers. Not bad. Free recruitment with 0 gold spent. The system is supposed to be about quality over quantity anyway, and female soldiers like Ilya had proven they could absolutely throw down. The remaining women got sold to Ged Steward. 20 gold coins. Kaching. Unexpected profit from a goblin extermination side quest. Then Ged brought up the troll corpses. Those are your kills, your property. But, can I buy one? My brain immediately went to the original host's memories. Troll skin makes incredible leather armor. As tough as light iron armor, but way lighter. The catch? You need a skilled tanner to process it before it rots, and good tanners are rare. Tell you what, I said, feeling generous and strategic. Take one for free, but have your tanner make armor from the other 2 for MY soldiers. Ged's eyes lit up. Deal done. He said the leather would need time to dry and cure, but by the time we reached his territory, the armor should be ready. 3 dead trolls converted into premium gear for Aileen and the squad leaders. I'm basically running a recycling program. Monsters in, armor out. Baruko's surviving 5 mercenaries merged with Ged's camp because, well, 5 guys don't really need their own campsite. That's not a squad, that's a dinner party. After dark, I secretly pulled our 5 horses out of my inventory space. Can't let people see me spawning horses from thin air, and had the soldiers feed them. Then I did my nightly wind dragon breathing exercises and hit the sack. Guard duty was the squad leader's problem. Delegation is the mark of a great leader. Also laziness. Mostly laziness. All night long, the forest echoed with animals fighting over goblin corpses. Apparently, in the wasteland, nobody buries the dead. You just chuck bodies into the forest and let nature's garbage disposal handle it. The bonus? Well-fed wild animals don't attack your camp. It's disgusting and genius. I filed that survival tip away. Morning came. The women who wanted to leave got a day's worth of food and directions back to Mitch Fortress. I genuinely wished them luck. The 6 who stayed got assigned under Ilya's command. I wasn't adding them to my official system roster yet, though. Trust first, evaluate their abilities, then recruit. Quality control matters when you have limited slots. Ged collected all the surviving horses from the battlefield. Enough for his cavalry and the 5 remaining mercenaries. And credit where it's due, Baruko and his guys didn't quit the mission even after losing 80% of their team. Partly professional pride, partly because the mercenary guild would blacklist them if they abandoned a contract mid-job. The medieval equivalent of a bad Yelp review, except it ruins your career. After the battle, Baruko became a completely different person around me. Suddenly it was, what do you think, Horg? And should we do this, Horg? And his remaining guys practically glued themselves to my formation. He'd finally noticed what was actually insane about my squad. We'd survived that massive battle with 0 deaths. Not one. In a fight where 22 out of 27 mercenaries got slaughtered, my rookies walked away with scratches. He started watching my soldiers march and realized they moved in formation even during casual travel, always ready to snap into battle mode. 3 months of drilling modern military discipline into medieval peasants was paying off. Baruko looked at my squad the way a fast food cook looks at a Michelin-starred kitchen. Impressed and slightly terrified. That afternoon, we finally cleared the Mist Forest danger zone. Passed one more mountain pass, and boom, the landscape split dramatically. Northeast, open wasteland, mostly gravel and bushes, perfect for traveling. Southeast, dense forest split from the wasteland by a big river flowing down from the Carolo Mountains. Ged's soldiers chopped trees and threw together a rough bridge. We crossed the river and headed northeast into open country. The cavalry went nuts with joy. Flat terrain meant they could actually use their horses instead of tiptoeing through forests. Travel speed jumped significantly. The wasteland had goblins, but only in small scattered groups that took one look at mounted cavalry and dove into their holes like terrified prairie dogs. 0 threat. What the wasteland did have was tons of wildlife. Yellow antelope, spotted deer, elk, all fast as the wind, but not faster than my arrows. Bandak and I turned every march into a mobile hunting trip. Fresh venison and mutton every single night. I shared the extras with Ged's crew. though naturally the slaves only got broth. This world's class system extended even to soup distribution. And during the march, I never stopped grinding. Riding the horse, practice cavalry skills, swinging my spear from horseback, weapon proficiency going up, shooting deer, archery stats climbing. Every minute of travel was also training. I was basically turning a dangerous escort mission into a mobile skill-leveling academy. The wasteland was my open-world grinding zone, and every deer was a walking experience point. Life on the road wasn't so bad when you were the guy with the magic system, the meteor iron stash, and the only squad that didn't lose a single soldier. Over the past few days, the 6 rescued women warmed up to us. Watching Aileen and the others, former slaves themselves who'd built real lives in my squad, convinced them I wasn't another terrible boss. Their loyalty scores all climbed past 60, and their combat aptitude checked out, so I officially added them to the roster and created a new unit. The Personal Guard, led by Ilya. Girl was collecting subordinates like Pokemon. 4 of those women hadn't actually been violated by the goblins. They'd only been captured 2 days before we showed up, and their personalities were too fierce for the goblins to handle immediately. See, goblins don't use force directly. They use starvation. They just don't feed you until you're so desperate for a piece of bread that you surrender everything. The women who'd been there longer had broken under weeks of hunger. Some had killed themselves by biting their own tongues. Goblins, somehow even more disgusting than I already thought, didn't think that was possible. Those 4 women had been planning suicide when we busted in. 2 more days, and I'd have been rescuing corpses. The timing of our goblin hunt was basically a miracle. Anyway, I figured the rest of this escort trip would be smooth sailing. Wasteland travel, some light deer hunting, arrive at destination, collect paycheck. Easy. Wrong. Day 4 in the wasteland. Early morning. Thin mist everywhere. And through that mist, a row of absolutely enormous silhouettes appeared ahead of us like the world's worst surprise party. Bandak fired his signal arrow. Ged galloped over, took one look, and his face went gray. Ogres. A whole group. Ogres. 3 to 4 meters tall. Muscles twisted around their bodies like ancient tree roots. Blood vessels the size of small snakes bulging on their bare arms. Red-brown hair hanging wild. Each one carrying a massive spiked club, some studded with iron nails, some with sharp rocks, some with actual bones. Like someone gave a bodybuilder a weapon designed by a serial killer. 18 of them. 3 rows of 6. And each one had a bundle of wooden javelins strapped to their backs. They threw in waves. First row launches, steps back. Second row launches. Coordinated. Tactical. These weren't brainless trolls. These guys had actual battle strategy, which was terrifying. Cavalry spread out and charge, Ged screamed, already leading his riders forward in a wide scatter formation. He angled far to the side, avoiding the ogre's front. Smart. Getting hit by one of those javelins would be like catching a telephone pole thrown by an angry giant. Flip the carts. Shields up, I yelled to my squad, then kicked my warhorse into a sprint, also swinging wide to the flank. Aileen and the squad leaders flipped our 2 carts sideways as barriers while shield soldiers formed a turtle formation overhead. Boom, boom, boom. The first javelin volley hit like artillery. Wooden javelins, yeah, but thrown by 4-meter monsters with the arm strength of industrial cranes. 3 of Ged's cavalry got knocked clean off their horses instantly. My squad, hiding behind overturned carts and shields, completely safe. See, this is why I make my soldiers practice defensive formations instead of partying at taverns, Barutko. I circled to the ogre's flank on my horse, slowed down, pulled out my composite bow, and went to work. First shot, right into an ogre's enormous ear. He screamed and dropped. Turns out even monsters have soft spots, and ear canals don't care how buff you are. 3 more arrows. 3 more dead ogres. My archery proficiency at skilled level meant I could shoot accurately from horseback at 100 paces while my horse was moving. I was basically a medieval fighter jet doing strafing runs. Ged hit the ogre line from the other side with a cavalry charge. His lance versus an ogre's spiked club. The collision sounded like a car crash. They were actually equal in strength. But Ged activated a combat technique. His lance blurred with speed, punched through the ogre's guard, and skewered its heart. 1 dead ogre, airborne. Goodbye. Then Ged smartly angled his horse through and out the other side, instead of getting stuck in the middle. Textbook cavalry tactics. This guy was good. His regular cavalry weren't as skilled, though. 2 more riders got smashed off their horses by club swings. 1 ogre got double-teamed and brought down. It was brutal, messy, and expensive. Meanwhile, I was racking up kills like an arcade game. 8 ogres down from my arrows. The ogres finally figured out who their real problem was. 3 of them turned and started hurling javelins directly at me. I kicked my horse into full gallop. 1 javelin came screaming at my torso. I spun my arm shield and deflected it midair. The clang nearly dislocated my shoulder, but better a sore arm than a wooden spear through my chest. I circled back, kept shooting, and dropped all 3 of them. 11 total now. The ogre formation completely collapsed. The survivors turned and ran, but they were slower than horses. Ged's cavalry and I chased them down one by one across the open wasteland. Not a single ogre escaped. Final scoreboard: 13 ogres killed by yours truly, 5 by Ged and his cavalry. But Ged lost 7 riders in the process. Ouch. Another costly victory for his team. Was Ged sad? Nope. He was grinning. Having a master archer in the group is incredible, he practically shouted at me. In his mind, 7 dead cavalry was actually a good outcome against 18 ogres. Without my archery, they'd all be dead. Fair point. Can ogre skin be made into armor? I asked, because my brain now automatically converts dead monsters into equipment upgrades. Yeah, but it's worse than troll leather. Still decent money, though, Ged said. My soldiers rushed forward to claim all 13 of my kills. In this world, you kill it. You own it. Loot rights are sacred. 13 ogre corpses worth of skin, weapons, and whatever else we could strip off them. I was basically running a monster hunting business at this point. Trolls, goblins, ogres. If it's big, ugly, and attacks us, it becomes inventory. My system storage was turning into a warehouse of dead creature parts, meteorite iron, and goblin pocket change. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a little voice said, "You came here to escort a convoy." Yeah, well, the convoy is fine. I'm just aggressively multitasking. First things first, business. I asked Ged for all 18 ogre hearts. The Crow Cottage wanted them at 3 gold coins each, but they had to be fresh. For normal mercenaries, that's impossible. Hearts rot in 2 days in this heat. For me, system inventory keeps everything fresh like a magical refrigerator. 54 gold coins just for monster organs. I'm basically a traveling butcher shop with a sword. I had Nick and the Derrick soldiers carve the hearts out after the Skinners did their work. Nick handed me the hearts in a leather bag. I pretended to toss them in the supply cart, and secretly, poof, into the inventory. Nobody noticed. My sleight of hand skills were getting almost as good as my archery. We also traded Ged 2 ogre skins in exchange for his tanner processing the rest into leather for us. Ilya handled the payment negotiations with Ged's steward. Delegation, still my greatest talent. Within an hour, we'd cleared out. Wasteland wolves were already circling in the bushes, drooling. The moment we left, they swarmed the ogre remains like a furry cleanup crew. No burial needed. Nature's janitors work for free. I checked my stats. Level 7 now. Archery at 226. I was becoming less mercenary leader and more one-man artillery battery. My single-handed and polearm skills had both climbed to 165 too, thanks to all my horseback practice during marches. Then came the upgrade spree. 3 Swadian militia promoted to light infantry. 1 Derrick warrior to Derrick infantry. 1 Doro hunter to Doro archer. And all 6 new women upgraded to female hunters. The cost? 56 gold coins. Gone. Vanished. Poof. Like throwing money into a furnace. I literally watched my savings evaporate in real time. Upgrading soldiers is the medieval equivalent of paying tuition for 12 kids simultaneously. But the results were worth the bankruptcy. Every upgraded soldier got the signature power surge, blood energy flooding their bodies, constitution skyrocketing, combat abilities jumping dramatically. I now had 10 Tier 3 soldiers. That's 10 warriors, each fighting at mid-level trainee knight strength. My little squad was quietly becoming a legitimate fighting force. I did notice something interesting, though. The newly promoted soldiers didn't get as many combat techniques as my originals. My new light infantry only got 2 techniques where Aileen had 3. The new Derrick infantry had 2 where Nick's original upgrade gave him the same. The system boosts your base, But how many techniques you unlock depends on personal talent and training effort. Good to know. Means I need to keep pushing these guys to practice, not just rely on system upgrades to do everything. The blacksmith and carpenter didn't level up, sadly. And none of my Tier 3 veterans broke through to Tier 4 yet. I was dying to see what a Tier 4 soldier looked like. Probably something terrifying and expensive. 2 more days of marching through absolutely desolate wasteland. Barren soil, rocks, scrub bushes, not a single settlement for over 200 miles from Mitch Fortress. Then Ged exhaled like a man who'd been holding his breath for a week. There's a pioneer territory ahead. We can rest there tonight. And there it was. A wide river flowing down from the Carolo Mountains, with beautiful farmland along the left bank. On a small hill sat a black stone castle surrounded by 5 small towns. Guard towers every 100 paces along the town perimeters. Stone walls. An actual functioning civilization. On the right side of the river, more mist forest, of course, because that creepy woodland follows you everywhere like a clingy ex. A logging camp operated at the forest's edge, harvesting timber across a simple wooden bridge. A knight named Heron came galloping out to greet us with an escort. He was the chief knight of Baron Hotrilio Snow, defense commander of Riverside Territory. He and Ged clearly knew each other, all smiles and jokes about wine. Then Ged introduced me, and Heron's face went through the most entertaining transformation. First he saw my mercenary badge and his expression said, "Why am I meeting a commoner?" His nose practically curled up. The disdain was so thick you could spread it on toast. Then Ged quickly explained, "This guy's a master archer who saved my entire mission from trolls and ogres. Oh, and he's actually a noble planning to apply for his own pioneer territory. Could be your neighbor someday." Instant attitude change. Heron's face went from, "Who let this peasant in?" to, "Welcome, dear friend," in about 0.3 seconds. The smile appeared so fast I thought his face might cramp. Class hierarchy is wild in this world. Say, mercenary, and you're garbage. Say, noble with a pioneer license, and suddenly everyone's your best buddy. I wasn't offended. I'd gotten used to this feudal snobbery by now. Besides, I was about to eat free castle food and drink free castle wine. A man can tolerate a lot of condescension when dinner is involved. Heron invited me and Ged to a formal evening banquet inside the castle. Fancy stuff. Noble people food. Baruko? Not invited. During the ogre fight, he and his remaining 5 mercenaries hadn't even charged. Just stayed back. At this point, Baruko had gone from respected mercenary captain to that guy who's technically still here. Ged barely acknowledged his existence anymore. The 5 surviving mercenaries were basically ghost passengers. They existed, occupied space, consumed food, and contributed absolutely nothing. But hey, there was a tavern in town. Baruko could drown his irrelevance in cheap beer. Some careers end with a bang. His ended with a whimper and a bar tab. Before heading to the fancy castle dinner, I gave my squad their orders. Rotate guard duty, hit the tavern in shifts for some R&R, buy arrows and supplies from the local blacksmith, and sell off the junk weapons we'd been hauling around. Ilya, who I'm now convinced is actually a medieval accountant disguised as a warrior, immediately started calculating which weapons to keep and which to dump. That woman pinches pennies so hard they scream. I don't deserve her. Then Ged and I walked into the castle, and wow. My first time inside a lord's private fortress in this world. Black stone walls 20 meters high, sitting on a hilltop with 2 gates connecting to the surrounding towns. Inside, stables, granaries, training grounds, water reservoirs, officer quarters, the whole medieval starter pack. Compact, but solid. This was Baron Hotrilio Snow's Riverside Territory, 2 years into development and almost ready for the imperial inspection that would make his title official. I was jealous. Extremely jealous. This was only 200 miles from the mountains, prime real estate. A castle like this with some decent soldiers? You could build a proper domain. My brain immediately started scheming. After this trip, I should apply for my own pioneer license. I was leveling up fast enough. Time to stop being a homeless mercenary and become a homeless mercenary with property. The Baron's dining hall was upstairs. Hotrilio himself was a handsome 20-something with golden hair and pale skin, looking like a prince from a storybook, except his right arm was wrapped in bandages. Not exactly the power pose you want from your local lord. The dinner was actually amazing by wasteland standards. Steak, fish soup, mushroom soup, vegetables, roasted venison, bread with honey and jam, and 2 bottles of red wine. For a guy who'd been eating campfire chicken soup for a week, this was heaven. Halfway through dinner, Hotrilio dropped the real reason for the hospitality. There's a beast terrorizing my territory. A jungle black panther, probably half-step into Tier 1 magical beast level. It's been attacking villagers near the mist forest edge. I chased it, and it clawed my arm. The logging camp is shut down. Worse, it's been crossing the river at night and raiding the towns, grabbed over a dozen people already. I've got fewer than 5,000 residents. If I keep losing people, I'll fail the imperial inspection and lose my baron title. Translation: please kill this thing for me. I'm desperate. Ged volunteered immediately. I'll stay a few days and help hunt it. Then Hotrilio turned to me with hopeful eyes. I heard you're a master archer. Your help would greatly increase our chances. I'll reward you generously. I thought about it for maybe 3 seconds. Dangerous magical panther? Terrible idea. But rewards from a grateful baron? Plus combat experience? Plus whatever the panther's body parts were worth. I'll help. As an archer supporting from range, I said. Because I'm brave, not stupid. After dinner, the baron offered us rooms inside the castle. Both Ged and I politely declined and went back to our camps outside. In this world, lords don't really trust outsiders sleeping inside their private fortress, especially mercenaries. Stories of hired swords turning on their employers weren't exactly rare. Smart policy, honestly. I wouldn't trust mercenaries in my castle either. I barely trust mercenaries outside my castle. Next morning, Heron the Knight assembled the hunting party. Ged brought Barutko, who was apparently still alive and still useless. I brought Bandak. Heron brought 10 of his own soldiers. A solid crew. We crossed the river south into the mist forest's edge. The trees here were absolutely massive. Dozens of meters tall, trunks wider than 3 meters, fog permanently clinging between them like the forest was trying to hide something. Which it was. It was hiding a murder cat. The panther claimed this section as its territory, Heron warned. It's huge but incredibly fast, climbing, stalking, sprinting. Your eyes can barely track it. We pushed in about 3 kilometers. Dense canopy overhead, dim light filtering through, every shadow potentially hiding a giant predator. Tense doesn't begin to describe. AGH. A black blur exploded from the canopy above. One massive paw slammed into a spearman's chest. The guy coughed blood and went limp instantly. And before anyone could blink, the panther clamped its jaws on him and dragged a 200-pound soldier 30 meters straight up into the treetops. Like picking up a sandwich. Now I finally saw it clearly. 2 meters tall at the shoulder. Long, sleek body covered in black fur so smooth, it looked like silk. Beautiful, actually. Gorgeous, even. The kind of beauty that makes you forget it just kidnapped a grown man in under 2 seconds. And the worst part? It didn't run. It sat up there in the canopy, looking down at us with this expression that could only be described as, "Who's next?" This cat wasn't scared of us. It was shopping. Heron was furious about the panther, but couldn't do anything. That cat was insanely fast in the trees, impossible to approach. It sat in the canopy munching on the soldier it grabbed, hiding its body behind the trunk, only peeking out with alert eyes. Shooting it seemed impossible. I pulled out my composite bow and fired. The panther dodged like lightning, but I predicted exactly where it would move. Arrow buried right in its belly. Heron's jaw dropped. Shooting upward through dense canopy in dim forest light, and actually hitting a moving target? Yeah, my archery wasn't normal anymore. The wounded panther abandoned its meal and bolted through the treetops. Heron screamed, "Chase it," and everyone sprinted after it. 5 kilometers deep, the forest got impossibly thick and dark. Trail gone. Everyone lost. Except Bandak. He pointed one direction confidently. Barutko immediately challenged him because Barutko physically cannot stop being annoying. I simply said, "My man tracks well," and Ged backed me. Heron chose to trust us. Bandak led us, sniffing air, reading broken twigs, checking dirt, to a dark cave hidden behind a massive oak tree on a mountainside. The panther had crawled inside. Nobody wanted to enter a mysterious cave in the mist forest. Nobody sane, anyway. But Heron couldn't back down. This beast threatened his lord's territory. He went first. Ged followed. Barutko predictably shuffled backward. I went in with Bandak ahead of me. 100 meters inside, the cave opened wide. Moisture everywhere, sounds of underground water. Then, boom, a massive splash, a blood-curdling shriek, and silence. We found a deep underground pool. Blood everywhere. Panther fur scattered across the rocks. The water still churning red. Something in that pool had grabbed the panther and devoured it instantly. A creature fast enough to catch a jungle panther in one bite. Don't go near the water, get warned. Whatever ate that panther is probably already a magical beast. Heron's face turned white. A magical beast living this close to the territory? Nightmare fuel. Then Bandak tugged my sleeve and pointed. Tucked between rocks near the pool, a tiny baby panther. Eyes still closed. Motionless. Sleeping. The mother panther had brought her cub here while fleeing us. Poor little thing. Grab it, I whispered. Bandak scooped it up gently. Outside, Ged suggested sealing the cave entrance. Heron agreed grimly. A water-dwelling magical beast near the territory was catastrophic news requiring immediate action. Walking back, Baruchko loudly announced that my baby panther was probably a magical beast cub worth serious money. Classic move, trying to create drama, maybe pressure me into sharing or selling. I smiled and offered it to him for 1 gold coin. He instantly backed down. The cub needed constant milk feeding, completely impractical for mercenaries living rough. Nobody else cared either. That evening, Baron Hotrilio hosted another dinner. The real agenda emerged. He wanted Ged to arrange for a genuine formal knight named Ashley to visit Riverside territory and investigate the underwater beast. A formal knight, someone who'd crossed into truly superhuman territory. 1 versus 1,000 level power. Ged promised to relay the request through his lord, but couldn't guarantee anything. The Baron was thrilled just getting a maybe. I sat there quietly, sipping wine, filing away everything. A real knight was coming to the region soon. Magical beasts lurked in underground pools. And in Bandak's arms, a blind baby panther was sleeping peacefully, completely unaware its mother was monster food, and its new owner was a transmigrator running a cheat system. Welcome to the family, little one. Try not to eat anyone important. Heron handed me 20 gold coins for the panther hunt. Sure, I didn't technically kill it. Some underwater nightmare did. But my arrow forced it into that cave, so everyone agreed I deserved credit. Free money accepted without hesitation. Pride doesn't pay for soldier upgrades. Back at camp, Ilya reported she'd bought 3 barrels of milk for the baby panther. Problem: milk spoils in 3 days, and we were heading deeper into wasteland where cows don't exist. Solution: system inventory, magical refrigerator mode. I stored the milk, freshness preserved indefinitely. The baby panther could also fit in my inventory like the horses, but I let Ilya carry it to avoid suspicion. Can't have people wondering why animals keep vanishing into thin air around me. 3 days of marching along the Malesu River. North side, barren wasteland. South side, creepy mist forest. Goblins popping up from bushes like whack-a-mole targets, then diving back underground when they saw our numbers. Wolf packs harassed us nightly, but our camp defenses held perfectly. Bandak even shot several wolves, adding free meat to the menu. Deeper into the wasteland meant more monsters, but thankfully no trolls or ogres. My stress levels appreciated the break. Then Ged pointed ahead excitedly. There, Harling's territory, and honestly, beautiful spot. The river poured into a massive lake. South of the lake, a raised plain bordered the mist forest. A black stone mountain jutted up on the eastern edge like a natural fortress wall. The territory sat west of this mountain, stone buildings surrounding a 2-story stone headquarters, wooden palisade walls encircling everything, farmland being cleared, a logging camp near the forest, a quarry at the mountain's base. Ged explained the strategic situation. Amazing resources, but terrible defense. Flat terrain plus forest border meant constant wolf attacks. They needed guard towers everywhere, but couldn't build them until the wolf pack's magical beast leader was eliminated. Enter Ashley, the genius knight coming to help. I asked about her. Ged practically glowed with pride. Ashley was 18, already peak first-tier knight, nearly mid-tier. A true prodigy from the Fire Lion family, and the Baron's biological sister. She was coming partly to help, partly to train herself by fighting the Wolf Alpha. The territory erupted with excitement when we arrived. Baron Harlings rode out personally to greet us. Red-haired, well-groomed, slightly chubby, riding a gentle horse that had clearly never seen combat. This lord was not a fighter. Ged introduced me enthusiastically. The Baron's response? Basically, Wind Dragon family? Oh right, you guys used to matter. Hand over your mercenary paperwork. Cold. Dismissive. Dripping with noble arrogance. His family and mine were once equals, both founding Duke families. But mine collapsed and his didn't, so now I'm garbage to him. Ged looked apologetically at me, but couldn't say anything. The Baron had 2 high-level trainee knights as personal guards, both outranking Ged. Fire Lion family resources were impressive. One guard coldly ordered me to camp on the territory's southern edge and await further instructions. I nodded politely, swallowed my irritation, and led my squad south. 2 other mercenary squads were already camped there. I sent Benekuk to investigate whether they'd also accepted the wolf hunting mission. Treated like dirt by an overweight baron who couldn't swing a sword. Classic. But patience pays dividends in this world, and my system was still running. His attitude wouldn't matter once I had my own territory. I picked a campsite and told Aileen to make it fortress-grade. The nearby mercenary camps had serious defenses, barricades, wooden walls, arrow slots, which told me nights here were not peaceful. Benekuk returned with intel that confirmed my worst fears. 2 mercenary squads, Violent Bear and Blood Dagger, had been here 2 days. Last night wolves attacked. 5 dead mercenaries total. They called this mission a scam. Apparently many mercenaries had already died here. Worse, Harling's territory wouldn't let them leave. Hand over your mission papers. Take 50 gold coins. Congratulations, you're trapped. Nobody dares anger the Fire Lion family by walking away. We'd been suckered into becoming unpaid security guards / wolf food. Ilya suggested abandoning the mission immediately. Eat the financial penalty, forget reputation points, just survive. Tempting. But Aileen and Bandak argued we'd lose double, forfeited gold plus the penalty. Better to wait for the real night to arrive and handle the wolves professionally. I agreed. Patience over panic. With 1 hour until sunset, I split the squad. Aileen and Nick's teams followed me to chop lumber. Ilya and Bandak's teams stayed behind digging foundations and traps. Everyone protested me doing manual labor, but I'm literally stronger than all of them combined. My axe went through trees like butter. Barutko, still freeloading in my camp, was told to help dig. He reluctantly agreed. Then, classic Barutko, the moment I left, he noticed the other mercenary camps looked safer, negotiated 3 gold coins for overnight shelter with Blood Dagger squad, and bolted. Didn't even wait for my permission. Just told Ilya, we're leaving, bye, and galloped away. Bandak called him something unprintable. Ilya just laughed. Honestly, good riddance. That man contributed nothing except complaints and cowardice since day 1. The other mercenaries watched us scrambling and literally laughed. Fresh meat for the wolves tonight. Finally, we can sleep peacefully. Real heartwarming, neighborly spirit out here in the wasteland. When I rode back with 2 carts of lumber, Ilya's team was drenched in sweat, but had only finished half the foundation. Their tools were garbage, digging with axes and spear tips. I mentally designed engineering shovels for future production. Modern military equipment knowledge, finally useful. Not enough wood. Ilya calculated nervously. There's more, I said casually. Then POF. A massive pile of lumber materialized on the ground, way more than both carts combined. Thank God it was getting dark and nobody could see my magical inventory trick. I discovered something beautiful during the logging trip. My inventory stacks bulk materials incredibly efficiently. Weapons take 1 slot each, but lumber? I could stuff enormous quantities into a single slot. Same with grain and raw materials. Game logic meeting reality created wonderful exploitable loopholes. Bundled weapons in a bag. 1 slot. Individual weapons? 1 slot each. The system counted containers, not contents. Absolutely broken. Absolutely fantastic. I'd also found a grove of ultra-hard oak trees in the forest, but skipped them. Too time-consuming to chop with basic axes. Filed that location away for later though. Quality hardwood for future construction projects. Enough. Ilya's eyes sparkled. We had materials. We had muscle. We had 1 hour before wolves arrived. The construction sprint began. Every soldier working at maximum speed, hammering and stacking and digging like their lives depended on it. Because their lives literally depended on it. Somewhere in Blood Dagger's camp, Barutko was probably already snoring. Those laughing mercenaries were about to learn something. Never bet against a team with a system-cheating transmigrator, unlimited inventory space, and extremely motivated soldiers who'd survive trolls, ogres, and thousands of goblins. Wolves? Please, take a number. We built that fortress like our lives depended on it. Because they did. 15-meter logs hammered into the ground, tied together with vines, forming a 30-meter circular wooden wall. Leftover branches became barricades outside. Movable logs became gates. Done before dark. Barely. Campfire lit. Meat roasting. Soldiers collapsing from exhaustion. I crawled into my tent feeling like I'd arm wrestled a mountain. Aileen posted rotating guards on the walls, including Doro hunters whose upgraded night vision made them perfect sentries. Attack! I shot awake, threw on armor, and rushed outside. Every soldier was already up. Outside our walls, the darkness suddenly erupted with glowing wolf eyes and howling, hundreds of them. These weren't ordinary wolves. They'd crept close using low ground and bushes, deliberately hiding their glowing eyes. Smart wolves. Wolves with actual tactical thinking. Absolutely terrifying. Up on Harling's wall, a knight casually watched my camp like someone observing a nature documentary. He told Gid my squad was finished. Apparently, this was the pattern. Once mercenary numbers hit 40, the wolves cleaned house. 50 mercenaries had died here in 2 months. The territory was deliberately using us as expendable wolf bait to slowly thin the pack. The bounty mission was a meat grinder disguised as employment. Ged's lips trembled watching my camp. He thought I was dead already. Surprise, buddy. I'm not most mercenaries. Arrows at 50 paces. Ignore anything farther. 10 skilled archers opened fire. Bandak, Ilya, the Doro soldiers, the female hunters. At 50 paces in moonlight, they didn't miss. Wolves dropped like dominoes. 20, 30. Agonized howling filled the air. The other mercenary camps weren't so lucky. Few archers, terrible night vision, panic shooting into darkness. Wolves tore at their wooden walls and leaped over them, dragging defenders down screaming. Barutko watched from Blood Dagger's camp as a wolf cleared their 10-meter wall and snatched a man. Bet those 3 gold coins felt like a bargain now. 50 wolves dead. Level up notification chimed. Beautiful. Then Bandak whispered, "The alpha's coming." I saw it. Taller than a warhorse. Blue-gray, fur shimmering with eerie red light under the stars. A genuine magical beast with blood energy running through its body. This wasn't a wolf. This was a boss monster. I fired my best wolf-fang arrow at 80 paces. Hit its thick neck dead center. The arrow bounced off like hitting concrete. Didn't even scratch the skin. My stomach dropped. The alpha exploded forward. Pure speed. A blur. Hit our wall, dug blood-red claws into the wood, and vaulted over like it was a garden fence. Aileen reacted fastest. He unleashed his spinning slash technique at full power. The alpha casually extended one glowing red claw and snapped his sword in half like a toothpick. Then it shattered his wooden shield and punched through his chest armor, sending him crashing to the ground with blood pouring everywhere. "Don't. You can't beat it." Aileen screamed from the dirt, watching me charge forward. Too late. I was already swinging my broadsword with everything I had. The alpha met my blade with one claw. My sword broke instantly, snapped like cheap glass. Standing face to face with a magical wolf whose claws cut through steel, holding a broken sword handle, watching my best soldier bleeding out behind me. Regular weapons couldn't hurt this thing. Regular soldiers couldn't fight it. Regular tactics were useless. I had exactly 0 seconds to figure out something extraordinary before those blood-red claws found my chest too. Everyone screamed at me to retreat. Ilya, Aileen, Bandak, Nick, all trying to reach me on the narrow wall. I yelled back. Everyone back. Ilya, give Aileen the healing potion. Now. The alpha wolf looked at me like a cat watching a mouse that forgot to run. It lunged, one casual swipe. I activated my shield spin technique and caught it on my arm shield. The impact launched me backward across the wall like a hockey puck. My steel shield nearly cracked. From one lazy swing. My entire army was about to become dog food. Everything I'd built, gone. Unless I did something extremely stupid. I pulled up my system panel. For attribute points. 55 weapon points. I dumped everything. All 4 points into Constitution. All 55 weapon points into polearm skills, pushing it to 250. 3 polearm techniques. Thrust, spinning spear, All jumped to proficient simultaneously. The effect was agonizing. Blood exploded from my nose. 4 constitution points flooding my body at once felt like being inflated with lava. 9 years of phantom combat training crammed into my brain in 1 second. My muscles were screaming, my organs were tearing, and raw power was literally trying to burst through my skin. But I had something the wolf didn't expect. The meteorite iron club from the dead troll. 500 pounds of indestructible metal. I grabbed it and thrust it at the wolf like a spear. Clang. Our weapons collided. I slid back 3 steps. The wolf slid back 1. But the club? Not a scratch. Regular iron shattered against this wolf's claws. Meteorite iron laughed at them. Game on, puppy. I went absolutely berserk. Spinning the club like a spear, thrusting, rotating, smashing. 40 consecutive collisions on that narrow wall. The spinning technique made the club's tip screech against the wolf's claws like nails on a chalkboard from hell. The wolf's paws started bleeding silver-colored blood. Its nose got smashed red. Meanwhile, I was falling apart internally. Blood streaming from my nose, ears, and mouth. The sudden stat boost had shattered the balance inside my body. Organs cracking, muscles tearing, bones fracturing from their own power. I looked like a demon. I felt like a demon being microwaved. Finally, the alpha calculated the math. This crazy human couldn't be killed quickly, and continuing risked real injury. For a magical beast, getting wounded meant becoming prey for other predators. So it howled, leaped off the wall, and bolted toward the other mercenary camps instead. It massacred both camps in 30 minutes. Every single mercenary, including Barutko and his guys, torn apart. Bodies everywhere. Those 3 gold coins he'd paid for, save for shelter, bought him absolutely nothing. Are you okay? Ilya rushed over, tears streaming. Fine. How's Eileen? My voice sounded like gravel. The healing potion had sealed Eileen's chest wound. A hole you could fit your fist through, completely closed. Magical medicine was no joke. Ilya offered me the last potion. I refused. I wasn't wounded. I was self-destructing. My body needed to absorb the power surge, not medicine. I stood on that wall running the wind dragon breathing technique, forcing my raging blood energy to stabilize. Every cell in my body felt like it was being stabbed simultaneously. I wanted to collapse. But if that wolf came back and saw me down, everyone dies. So I stood there, trembling, bleeding, holding a 500-pound meteorite club, looking terrifying enough that nothing dared approach. Inside, I was screaming. Outside, stone cold. Leadership is mostly pretending you're not dying. The wind dragon breathing technique saved my life. As I stood there bleeding from every hole in my face, the technique kicked into overdrive. My old blood energy started shrinking, hitting some kind of bottleneck, then transforming. New, heavier blood energy poured from my spine outward, replacing everything, repairing torn organs, cracked bones, and shredded muscles like biological renovation workers on overtime. 1 hour later, brand new body. Skin like leather, tendons like copper, bones like iron. Single-hand strength over 1,000 pounds. I'd accidentally punched through to high-level trainee night. Silver lining of nearly exploding from the inside. Mental note, though, never dumped that many stat points at once again. 1 more point, and my body would have popped like a balloon at a porcupine convention. Bandak suggested checking the other camps. I said wait. Smart move. The alpha wolf had hidden reinforcements in bushes a kilometer away, waiting for us to leave our walls. 30 minutes later, the ambush pack gave up and retreated into the forest. Bandak looked embarrassed. Almost got us killed, sorry. I shrugged. Magical beasts have real intelligence now. Lesson learned. Once confirmed safe, I sent Nick, Irek, and Bandak to scavenge. Results? 15 swords, 10 spears, 9 knives, 6 axes, 12 shields, 3 steel bucklers, 10 leather armor sets, 6 quivers, for war horses, 6 regular horses, 62 wolf corpses, plus food and clothing. Also 3 bags of coins from dead mercenaries, 50 gold total. These guys died broke. Then I remembered my original self's father died over 50 gold too. Perspective is humbling. Upgrade time. 3 Swadian militia became light infantry. 2 Derrick warriors became infantry. 1 Doro hunter became archer. 1 female hunter became female guard. Cost, 70 gold coins. My wallet screamed. But 17 tier 3 soldiers now. each fighting at mid-level trainee knight strength with proper combat techniques. I analyzed my army composition like a chess player. Swadians, balanced sword and shield infantry. Directs, aggressive attackers with devastating throwing axes. Doro archers, tracking specialists and ranged killers. Female guards, close-quarters assassins, weaker in open formations. Different tools for different jobs. I started designing, three-man cell, tactics borrowed from modern military doctrine. Adaptability wins wars. Then morning brought visitors. Malford, Harling's defense captain, galloped over with cavalry and immediately tried claiming all our salvaged loot as territory property. The audacity. We fought all night while his soldiers watched from behind their fancy walls. And now he wants our stuff? I told him exactly where he could shove his claim. Politely, with cold fury, Ged swooped in diplomatically, suggesting we sell what we couldn't carry. I agreed. Wolf corpses aren't exactly portable. Then Malford threatened us. Abandon the mission and Fire Lion family will destroy our mercenary credentials permanently. I smiled icily. We honor our contracts. Maybe you should honor yours. Ged handed me a bag of gold, the escort payment, plus dead mercenaries' unclaimed shares. He also promised our troll and ogre leather armor would be delivered soon. Good man, that Ged. Surrounded by snakes, but still decent. Malford rode away looking like he'd swallowed a lemon stuffed with wasps. 17 elite soldiers. Meteorite iron weapons. High-level night body. And enemies on both sides. Wolves in the forest, snakes in the castle. Just another beautiful day in the wasteland. I pointed out to Ged that his colleague Malford seemed less than friendly. Ged sighed. Malford was the oldest knight, the Baron's favorite, naturally territorial. I shook my head. A lord who can't unite his own knights in the middle of monster-infested wasteland? Good luck with that, buddy. We spent 10 days fortifying our camp into a proper mini-fortress. 30 meters of barricades, oak spike traps, ditches everywhere, one exit. The wolves vanished completely, probably regrouping, probably plotting. Meanwhile, I sent teams into the mist forest daily to harvest that oak grove I'd spotted earlier. Here's where my system got ridiculous. Each inventory slot held roughly 1,000 cubic meters of lumber. That entire forest filled only 3 slots. I was basically a walking lumber yard with a sword. Ilya sold wolf corpses and captured weapons for 30 gold. My savings climbed to 229 coins. Not rich, but breathing room. Ged kept his word. The territory's tailors delivered 4 troll leather armor sets and 16 ogre leather sets. Troll armor felt like chain mail, but lighter. Ogre armor outclassed regular leather significantly. I kept 1 troll set, gave 3 to Aileen, Bandak, and Nick. Everyone else got ogre leather. My entire squad was now properly armored for the first time ever. We looked like actual soldiers instead of armed hobos. The wolf battle had humiliated my officers. They couldn't even touch the alpha. So everyone trained obsessively. Aileen, Bandak, Nick, Ilya, drilling their squads dawn to dusk. I joined them, learning throwing axes from Nick, practicing horseback spear techniques, grinding every skill simultaneously. My riding finally triggered a breakthrough. Horsemanship entered, beginner, level, which automatically unlocked mounted archery. The system linked related skills like experience pools. Cavalry skills fed into polearm proficiency, which boosted mounted combat overall. My polearm score hit 270. Archery reached 246. I also discovered something critical about progression. Becoming a formal knight from trainee level was an enormous gap. Without expensive life potions, I need to grind attributes and weapon mastery the hard way. My goal was reaching formal knight status before starting my own territory. Without that power level, survival was impossible. Harling's territory proved that. Then one morning, everything changed. 20 elite cavalry thundered toward us, led by someone on a snow-white Doro warhorse standing 2.5 meters tall. Red-furred hooves like 4 burning flames. The rider wore gleaming silver full-plate armor with a fire-red lion cape billowing behind. That's a genuine Doro warhorse, Bandak whispered, eyes sparkling. Only thing matching a wolfman's mount. That's Ashley Hodrew, Ilya murmured. The Fire Lion family's genius knight. Behind Ashley rode 20 heavy cavalry in full steel plate. Every single one at least mid-level trainee knight, riding Doro warhorses, carrying lances and long swords. walking military perfection. Behind them trailed 80 mercenaries from a black iron-ranked company called Blazing Fire. Decent, but nowhere near Ashley's escort quality. Harlings marched out with 200 soldiers and all 3 of his knights to receive her. Full ceremonial welcome. I watched from my wooden fort, jaw slightly open. 20 elite cavalry could flatten everything I owned. But then I smiled. Give me 2 years with my system, and I'd build something matching that. Maybe better. The genius night had arrived. Wolf hunting season was officially about to begin. Inside the castle, things got interesting, though I only learned the details later. Ashley arrived and immediately took command like she owned the place. Her brother Harlings switched from arrogant lord to groveling puppy in approximately 0 seconds. "Sister, you're finally here," he practically squealed. She ignored his enthusiasm and ordered a war council immediately. During the meeting, Ged apparently talked me up significantly. Ashley asked specifically about me, the Wind Dragon family heir. Harlings dismissed me as worthless trash destined to die in a ditch somewhere. Ashley called him stupid. Directly. To his face. In front of everyone. Her reasoning was pure politics. Even from a dead family, I was the last direct descendant of a founding Duke bloodline. Important people in the empire were watching. If I died on their territory, the political fallout would splash onto the Fire Lion family. So her orders were simple. Let all mercenaries sleep in town tonight. Don't obviously favor me, but absolutely do not let me die tomorrow. After the mission, pay me generously and get me far away. Harlings couldn't understand why a broke nobody mattered. Ashley sighed and basically said his brain was too small for political thinking. Brutal sisterly love right there. Soon a rider summoned me to the central plaza. Malford briefed everyone on tomorrow's operation. The deal, 50 gold guaranteed regardless of kills, plus bonus pay based on wolf corpses collected. All loot stays with us. No retreating or the mercenary guild gets notified. Fair enough. The plan was straightforward. 2 valleys branched southeast and southwest from a central ridge south of the territory. Malford's soldiers would sweep the southeast valley. The Blazing Fire Mercenary Company and my squad would sweep the southwest valley. Ashley would wait on the ridge as the heavy hitter. Once someone found the alpha wolf and fired signal arrows, she'd charge in for the kill. Malford handed 5 signal arrows to the mercenary captain, a 40-something smooth talker named Mark who immediately started buttering me up. "We just arrived, don't know the terrain, please carry us tomorrow." Classic mercenary politics. Let the smaller squad take the bigger risks while you hang back. I played humble right back. Only 30 soldiers, brand new squad, couldn't possibly compare to your experience. We smiled at each other like 2 poker players both holding terrible hands and pretending otherwise. That evening we moved into town. Harlings provided actual buildings, 5 warehouse rooms, even a private one for me. Suspiciously generous after weeks of treating us like garbage. And Ged, who normally would have visited for drinks, completely disappeared. Someone had told him to distance himself from me. The political chess pieces were moving around me, and I was apparently a piece nobody wanted on their board. Whatever. I had bigger concerns. I gathered my officers and introduced tomorrow's tactical innovation. The 3-man cell, system borrowed from modern military doctrine. 1 archer, 1 Swadian shield infantry, 1 Derrick attacker per cell. Independent small units that could fight scattered in dense forest terrain where formations were impossible. We only had enough directs for 4 proper cells, so some groups substituted female guards as either melee fighters or backup archers. Imperfect, but functional. Tomorrow we'd test modern combined arms tactics against medieval wolves in a magical forest. My officers absorbed everything eagerly. Aileen, Bandak, Nick, Ilya, all nodding, asking questions, adapting. Tomorrow would be bloody, but my soldiers wouldn't be fighting as individuals anymore. They'd be fighting as a system. Dawn, barely light. 3 forces marched into the mist forest like the world's most dysfunctional field trip. Malford and Ged led 100 well-equipped territory soldiers. Mark's 80 mercenaries stumbled forward carrying random weapons like a medieval garage sale with legs. My 30 soldiers moved in tight formation looking professional, because we actually trained. The valley split southwest. Mark immediately suggested we each take one side. Translation, stay away from my loot. Fine by me. We separated. This forest was terrifying. Trees so massive you felt like an ant walking through grass. Visibility dropped to nothing after 50 steps. Traditional battle formations? Completely useless here. Time to deploy my secret weapon. Three-man cells. Front team, Eileen, Bandak, Nick, my murder trio. Flanks and rear. Mixed cells of Swadian shields, Derek axes, and Doro archers. Me in the center with Ilya's female hunters as mobile support. Maximum 10-step spacing between groups, 100-step total spread, communication through whistles and hand signals. I deliberately skipped sending scouts ahead. In a wolf's home territory, they'd smell us instantly regardless. Scouts would just become appetizers. Mark and Malford both sent scouts. Those scouts died silently within kilometers, never managing a single warning signal. Predictable. 10 kilometers deep, the wolves struck. A massive gray wolf erupted from buried leaves beneath a tree, claws aimed at Bandak's throat. In one heartbeat, Eileen spun his shield into the attack. Bang! While Nick's throwing axe whistled past and buried itself in the wolf's neck. Dead before hitting the ground. 20 steps, 1 second, perfect teamwork. The three-man cell worked beautifully. Wolves attacked from everywhere simultaneously. I scrambled up a tree, found a shooting position through the canopy gaps, and started dropping wolves with precision arrows. 3 kills in seconds. Ilya and her hunters climbed neighboring trees, creating an elevated crossfire network supporting every ground team. First ambush survived. 1 soldier's armor got torn. That's IT. 0 casualties. 15 wolves killed. Meanwhile, Mark lost 5 mercenaries, killing only 3 wolves. Malford lost 10 soldiers, killing 9. My modern tactics versus their medieval chaos. The scoreboard spoke for itself. We pushed deeper. Every kilometer brought another wolf ambush. Same pattern. Hidden attacks, quick slaughter, keep moving. After 5 more kilometers and 45 total wolf kills, my system chimed. Level 9. My Tier 2 soldiers were running on fumes though. Fortunately, the system had upgrades ready. 6 Swadian militia became light infantry. 5 female hunters became female guards. And my blacksmith? Ready for mid-tier promotion. The blacksmith upgrade cost 15 gold coins alone. Total upgrade bill, 125 coins. I nearly cried. My beautiful savings, massacred by the upgrade button. But back in Eagle Beak Valley, Wibart the blacksmith suddenly screamed with joy. 5 years of phantom forging knowledge flooded his brain. 50-fold refined steel techniques, temperature control mastery, quenching secrets. His arm strength rocketed to 800 pounds. He could now craft real weapons. The kind that wouldn't shatter against magical beast claws. Worth every agonizing coin. 17 Tier 3 soldiers now, plus freshly upgraded support troops. The 3-man cell system was battle-proven. My blacksmith could finally forge proper steel. And somewhere ahead in this dark valley, a magical alpha wolf was waiting. Difference was, this time I wasn't scared. Much. 11 freshly upgraded soldiers surged with new power, exhaustion evaporating like morning dew on a hot pan. I ordered everyone to stop, eat, drink, and practice their new techniques before continuing. But secretly, I was conducting a census, interviewing each upgraded soldier about exactly what combat skills they'd received. Battlefield commander needs complete data, people. The results were fascinating. Every Tier 3 soldier got standardized techniques matching their class. Swadian light infantry received swordsmanship and shield spin defense. Derek infantry got axe skills and throwing axes. Doro archers received bow mastery and shield defense. Female guards got bows, shields, and swordsmanship, triple threat. But here's the juicy part. Benekuk earned a bonus technique, spinning slash, because he'd been obsessively training with Aileen during downtime. Extra effort equals extra rewards. The system didn't just hand out participation trophies. This confirmed my theory. Upgrades amplify what's already there. Lazy soldiers get baseline skills. Dedicated soldiers get bonuses. And bonus techniques boost physical stats too, creating a compounding advantage. Benekuk was now noticeably stronger than other Tier 3 soldiers, though still below Eileen. Meritocracy through magical medieval steroids. Beautiful. After a quick meal, we resumed the hunt. Wolves kept ambushing us every kilometer like the world's most predictable horror movie. Same tactics. Hide, pounce, repeat. But my freshly powered-up soldiers plus increasingly polished three-man cells turned us into a forest steamroller. 0 casualties. Every wolf ambush ended the same way. Dead wolves, my soldiers barely breathing hard. Mark's mercenaries? 30% casualties and climbing. His vice captain begged him to retreat. Mark refused. Abandoning a Fire Line contract meant career death. Then Mark whispered something chilling to his deputy. Even if everyone else dies, we complete this mission, collect gold, maybe buy a breathing technique, and become real knights. This world crushes the weak. I'm old. You're not. Fight. That conversation revealed something critical about this world's class system. Breathing techniques came in 3 tiers: ordinary, elite, and legendary, unlocking progressively higher knight ranks. Most were controlled by noble families and wizard guilds, costing thousands of gold. Bloodline techniques like my Wind Dragon method were powerful, but exclusive to specific families. Regular people? Completely locked out of advancement. The ceiling wasn't glass, it was diamond-reinforced steel. Mark's deputy rallied, screaming at the mercenaries about manhood and pride, charging wolves like a berserker. Morale temporarily recovered. On Malford's side, he went full dictator. 3 gold coins to dead soldiers' families. Instant execution for deserters, families enslaved. Medieval motivation techniques, horrifying but effective. His soldiers screamed and fought harder. Meanwhile, I noticed something exciting. Eileen's swordsmanship had jumped to proficient mid-battle. His attacks nearly doubled in power, and his stamina regenerated noticeably. Combat experience was upgrading my soldiers' techniques in real time, with the system providing physical enhancement bonuses identical to my own weapon proficiency system. This was huge. My soldiers weren't just gaining experience, they were evolving. Given enough battles, even ordinary recruits could become elite warriors through the system's hidden progression mechanics. The upgrade button was just the beginning. Continuous combat training was the real multiplier. Good. Very good, I muttered, watching Aileen cleave through another wolf with newfound ferocity. My army was becoming something special, something this world had never seen before. 50 kilometers into the valley, the wolves got angrier and more numerous. We were clearly approaching their home base. Good news. Bandak's archery, Nick's axe skills, Irek's swordsmanship, and Ilya's bow mastery all broke through to proficient level during the fighting. My core officers were evolving in real time like combat Pokemon. The system boosted their stamina and strength with each breakthrough, which was clutch because we needed every ounce of power. My kill count: 210 wolves. I knew the exact number because my inventory stored them 30 per slot, filling 7 slots. My system space had basically become a wolf morgue. These weren't ordinary wolves either. They carried magical beast bloodlines, meaning better meat, more life energy, and higher sale value. Their flesh tasted incredible too. Monster-grade organic free-range wolf steak. Delicious and nutritious. Level 10. My inventory expanded by 6 slots to 66 total. Milestone bonus. Archery hit 296. Polearms reached 290. Both approaching 300, which I suspected was another breakthrough threshold. My army now stood at 30 Tier 3 soldiers, which was frankly ridiculous firepower for a small mercenary squad. Then we found it. A massive rocky slope covered in boulders, with a huge cave entrance behind them. Wolves stood guard among the stones like furry gargoyles. The den. Final boss territory. Mark's blazing fire mercenaries stumbled out from the opposite tree line looking like they'd been through a blender. His deputy Rodex gaped at my squad. You didn't lose anyone. Benekuk smoothly deflected. Our trophies are hidden in the forest. You'll see our kill count later, good man. No need to reveal our inventory magic trick. Then, a signal arrow from the other valley. The male alpha wolf was over there. Mark's eyes lit up with $signs. Lucky us. The magic wolf's elsewhere. Let's slaughter these guards and collect our bounty. Hey Horg, show us that famous archery. Translation. Please do the dangerous part while I watch. Fine. I ordered my archers to volley. Arrows rained into the stone field. Wolves screamed, dropped, or scrambled deeper into cover. Mark was genuinely impressed. Amazing shooters. Then Mark did something predictably slimy. He ordered Rodex to charge the weakened den with all mercenaries. Rush in, kill wounded wolves, claim the bodies as trophies for bonus payment. Classic vulture tactics. Let someone else do the hard work. Swoop in for the loot. My soldiers tensed, wanting to charge too. But without my order, nobody moved. Discipline pays. Boom. From inside the cave, a second magic wolf exploded outward. A female. Massive. Swollen with milk, she'd been nursing cubs. Blood around her lower body. Absolutely furious. One blood-red crystal claw slammed into Rodex's chest. He flew backward down the slope like a rag doll, crashing into his own men. Dead or dying. The mother wolf tore through mercenaries like tissue paper. Nobody could last a single exchange. There's a second magic wolf, Mark screamed, his face white as snow. Then Mark did the most Mark thing possible. He turned and ran. Didn't even try to help his own men getting slaughtered. Just pure survival instinct, zero loyalty. His mercenaries were being massacred, and their captain was already a disappearing dot on the horizon. I understood instantly. There'd always been two magic wolves, male and female, mates. The male had deliberately positioned himself in the other valley as bait, drawing Ashley away so the female could protect their den. These wolves weren't just smart. They were strategic geniuses. Fire the signal arrow. I handed Bandak a screamer. It shrieked skyward. But Ashley was in the opposite valley. She'd need serious time to get here. Time we probably didn't have. Everyone back. I grabbed the meteorite iron club. Against a magic wolf, regular weapons were confetti. Only this 500-pound space rock could trade blows with blood energy-infused claws. I dumped my last 20 weapon points into polearms. 310. My spear technique jumped to advanced, a tier above proficient. 5 phantom years of brutal training compressed into 1 second. Blood energy surged through my body, stacking on top of the reserves still settling from my last upgrade. I did not add my 2 remaining attribute points this time. Learned that lesson already. Last time I nearly exploded from the inside. Once was enough? Thanks. The mother wolf finished shredding mercenaries and turned toward my squad. Milk heavy, bleeding, enraged beyond reason. A mother protecting her babies. The most dangerous creature in any universe. And I was standing between her and my 30 soldiers holding a giant metal stick. Here we go again. I charged. Meteorite club versus blood crystal claws. Boom! The collision shook the hillside. I slid back 5 steps. The wolf stopped cold. And I realized something beautiful. This wolf was weaker than the male. Still terrifying, but manageable. My spear technique advanced level had transformed the clumsy iron club into a whirlwind weapon. It danced in my hands like a living dragon, smashing and thrusting with devastating power. Apparently, advanced technique was rare enough in this world that most warriors never reached it. Lucky me, I had a cheat code. My officers watched nervously, then relaxed. Aileen saw an opportunity. While I kept the wolf busy, he and Nick could raid the den. Ilya and Bandak would cover me. Smart kids, didn't even need my orders. The mother wolf saw them charging toward her babies and lost it. She tried breaking past me. Absolutely not. I blocked every escape route, hammering her flanks relentlessly. Fur ripped, flesh exposed, blood flying. She couldn't get through. Minutes later, Aileen emerged holding 3 shivering newborn wolf cubs. Still wet. The mother saw her babies in human hands and went completely berserk, abandoned all defense, charged straight at Aileen, ignoring me entirely. Fatal mistake. I gripped the club 2-handed, activated heavy strike technique, and crushed her spine. One sickening crack. She collapsed, paralyzed, still dragging herself toward her cubs with broken claws, eyes locked on Eileen's hands. Ilya turned away crying. Even I felt my chest tighten. Your babies will be safe, I whispered, then brought the club down one final time. She stopped moving. Level up notification chimed. Magical beasts gave insane experience. Then a silver blur descended the cliff like a falling meteor. Ashley, moving at superhuman speed, blood-red aura surrounding her body, covering impossible terrain in seconds. She'd already killed the male alpha and sprinted here. Formal knights were genuinely beyond mortal limits. You killed it, she said flatly from a boulder above. She'd just given birth. I got lucky, I answered honestly. Dead is dead. She turned and vanished, trailing something that felt strangely like sadness. Weird woman. Moving on. I checked my squad panel and nearly dropped my club. Aileen could finally upgrade to Tier 4. 2 options appeared. Swadian heavy cavalry for 20 gold, or heavy infantry for 18. I picked cavalry instantly. The cavalry branch eventually led to Swadian Knight, an elite unit. The upgrade hit Aileen like a tsunami. Blood energy flooded him so violently he nearly burst. But then, miracle, the system granted him a breathing technique. 2-tier, custom fitted to his body, capable of advancing him to high-tier knight rank. Without it, the upgrade energy would have literally killed him. The system had merged with reality again, creating survival mechanisms for extreme power jumps. His spear technique and horsemanship unlocked. Swordsmanship jumped to advanced level. Shield defense hit proficient. Once he digested everything, he'd reach high-level trainee knight, matching my recent breakthrough. Bandak was also ready for tier 4, but I held off. Aileen was already struggling to contain his new power, running the breathing technique desperately. 1 medical emergency per day was my limit. 3 newborn wolf cubs, 1 dead magical beast mother, and my first tier 4 soldier. Today was simultaneously heartbreaking and incredible. I had my soldiers build wooden sleds, then secretly pulled wolf corpses from my inventory and loaded them up for transport. Couldn't exactly tell people I'd been storing 200 dead wolves in a magical pocket dimension. Also extracted the magic wolf's lungs, worth 200 gold on the Crow Cottage shopping list. Every monster organ was rent money at this point. Once Aileen stabilized his raging blood energy through his shiny new breathing technique, we hauled everything out of the forest. Mark's mercenary captain had predictably slithered back after Ashley showed up, pretending he'd been nearby the whole time. His team was down to 12 survivors. They stripped their dead companions of weapons and armor, left the actual bodies rotting in the forest, but carefully dragged out every wolf corpse because those were worth money. Dead friends? Meh. Dead wolves? Cash money. Disgusting, but I kept my mouth shut. Not my circus, not my morally bankrupt monkeys. At Harling's territory, Malford counted our haul. 230 wolves. His jaw literally dropped. Plus 1 magic wolf. I quickly explained she'd just given birth, and I got lucky. No need for anyone to realize I could actually fight magical beasts head-on. In this world, being underestimated keeps you alive. Mark brought 56 wolves. He blamed the low count on darkness and dead teammates. Malford didn't care about excuses. Final payout, 300 gold for me, 120 for Mark. No objections from either party. Malford then politely told us to get lost tomorrow morning. Hospitality at its finest. Back at camp, my soldiers were already cooking wolf stew. After a full day of forest combat on dry rations, everyone needed hot food. Ilya's female guards heated water for my bath because apparently even in the wasteland, my personal hygiene standards were maintained. Bless that woman. Then things got interesting. 2 visitors, back to back. First, Mark, barging in with a business proposal. Sell me the magic wolf cubs. I know buyers. You keep 80%. Smooth talker, terrible timing. Before I could respond, Ilya announced visitor number 2, Ged. Mark's face fell like a souffle in an earthquake. He knew exactly why Ged was here. Ged walked in looking awkward. He'd been avoiding me for days on Ashley's orders, and now he was showing up with his hand out. To his credit, he got straight to business. My lord wants to buy all 3 wolf cubs. Now I understood why everyone was suddenly my best friend again. These cubs were gold mines with fur. Magic beast cubs that haven't opened their eyes yet will bond with whoever they first see. Permanent loyalty, like medieval puppy imprinting. Once grown into full magical beasts, each one equals a formal knight in combat power. My baby panther had already bonded with me the same way, refused to eat unless I was present. I played dumb and asked Mark for a price estimate. With Ged sitting right there, Mark couldn't lie. At least 300 gold each, he admitted painfully. If the parents were higher level, multiply by 10, 500 per cub. We'll take all 3, Ged countered immediately. 1,500 gold for 3 wet puppies I'd grabbed as an afterthought. My poker face deserved an award because internally I was doing backflips. These cubs were worth more than everything I'd earned in months combined. I also wondered why Ashley hadn't just confiscated them when she had the chance. She'd been standing right there. A formal knight taking loot from a mercenary? Nobody would have blinked. Either she was above petty theft, or 3 magic wolf cubs were pocket change to someone at her level. I preferred believing she was just too rich to care. It hurt less than admitting a Fire Lion family member might actually be a decent person. 1,500 gold coins sitting in my lap, disguised as 3 shivering, squeaking balls of fur. Best side quest ever. Mark immediately surrendered on the bidding war. I don't have that kind of money, obviously. His team was 12 survivors and a pile of dead men's armor. But I had a plan. 3 cubs, 2 buyers, 1 diplomat. 1 for each of you. I keep 1. Mark, you're broke, but you've got spare horses from your dead guys. Trade me 25 warhorses for 1 cub. Mark's eyes flickered. 25 Swadian warhorses were worth about 500 gold, slightly overpaying. But a magic beast cub could sell for more in the city, if he kept it alive, without my magical refrigerator inventory storing fresh milk. Good luck with that, buddy. Ged got the 2nd cub for 500 gold cash. I kept the 3rd. Perfect split. Immediate gold, immediate horses, future magical pet. Risk diversified across 3 baskets. Also, I needed those horses desperately. Mounted soldiers survive wasteland travel infinitely better than walking once. The real reason I didn't keep all 3? Politics. Harling's territory would absolutely rob me if I hoarded everything. Give them 1 cub. Give Mark 1 for goodwill. Keep 1 quietly. Diplomacy through strategic generosity. What I didn't know was the drama exploding inside the castle. Apparently Harlings threw a tantrum the moment Ged reported back. Those are my trophies. Malford, go take all 3 cubs. Give him nothing. If Ashley hadn't forbidden it, I'd kill him. Malford was already heading for the door with murder face when Ged tried intervening. Sir, those are legitimately his trophies by our own agreement. Know your place, Ged, Malford snarled. Then footsteps on the stairs. Ashley descended like divine judgment in a red jacket. Sit down. She absolutely demolished her brother verbally. Rules are rules. Promises matter. Break your word, and the Fire Lion family's reputation suffers. Political enemies will use it against you. Noble honor isn't optional decoration. It's structural foundation. Harlings whined. Rules are for equals. These people are beneath us. Ashley's response was ice. Can you silence every witness permanently? No. Then follow the rules. Also, Malford couldn't beat Horg anyway. Malford objected. That kid only killed the wolf because it just gave birth. Are you questioning me? Ashley's killing intent dropped the room temperature by 20 degrees. Malford hit the floor on his knees faster than gravity should allow. I was wrong, my lady. Then Ashley delivered the knockout punch. Make Ged the chief knight instead of Malford. Listen to Ged's advice, or she'd report everything to their grandfather and cut family funding. Harlings had 16 brothers with equal inheritance claims. His only advantage was being Ashley's biological brother. Losing her support meant losing everything. I'm sorry, sister. I'll do whatever you say. Spineless to the end. Ged brought the gold. Deal completed. 884 gold coins total in my inventory. From nearly broke to genuinely wealthy in 1 day. Magic wolf cubs were basically medieval lottery tickets with fur. Time for upgrades. I pulled Bandak into my room privately. His Tier 4 evolution, Doro Senior Archer. The upgrade tsunami hit. Massive blood energy surge. 8 phantom years of archery training compressing into seconds. Bow skills jumping to advanced level. Shield defense reaching proficient. Then the critical moment. A breathing technique materialized in his brain just before his body exploded from the overload. 2-tier method, custom fitted. He spent an hour desperately running the technique, barely containing the power. Both my first Tier 4 soldiers now had personal breathing techniques. The system was essentially manufacturing night-level warriors with built-in survival mechanisms. Game-breaking in the best way possible. Finally, I upgraded Carpenter Soros to mid-level. 15 gold coins. More expensive than combat troops because apparently skilled craftsmen are premium content. Back in Eagle Beak Valley, Soros woke up at midnight buzzing with new woodworking knowledge and creative ideas, desperate to start building. 884 gold. 2 Tier 4 soldiers with breathing techniques. 25 new warhorses. 1 baby magic wolf cub still in my pocket. And tomorrow, we leave this terrible territory and never look back. Harlings can keep his attitude. I'm keeping the gold. Morning swap. Mark handed over 25 warhorses, giving me 29 total plus 6 regular horses and 2 carts. My little squad now looked like an actual cavalry unit instead of a walking support group. Mark galloped away with his 12 survivors, probably planning his memoir, How I Lost 68 Men and Gained 1 Puppy. Ilya reported that Harling's steward wanted to buy the magic wolf carcass for 100 gold. Hard pass. Last night, I'd eaten magic wolf meat, and it was packed with spiritual energy, basically a protein shake for breathing technique training. With my inventory, keeping it fresh forever, that wolf was worth more as my personal power-up buffet than any pile of coins. I sold 200 regular wolf corpses instead, 12 gold total. Ilya bought milk, salt, and spices with the money. Practical woman. We packed up and rolled out, heading northeast toward Maple Leaf territory, about 100 miles away. Another pioneer baron had posted an exploration task at the Mercenary Guild. Open wasteland stretched everywhere, scattered trees, clear sight lines, easy travel. Finally, terrain that wasn't trying to murder us. Then, 10 miles out, hoofbeats behind us. Aggressive ones. It's Malford. 3 riders with him. Nick reported from rear guard. Of course it was Malford. The man whose ego I'd been accidentally stomping on for weeks had apparently decided today was the day for his villain moment. Horg, I'm here to fight you, he announced, cold as a freezer. You flatter me. I'm no match for you, sir, I said pleasantly, because I genuinely didn't want this fight. Not worth the trouble. Then kneel. Bow your head. Admit defeat publicly. Then I'll let you leave. Oh, so that's what this was about. The man got humiliated in front of Ashley, demoted in favor of Ged, and now he needed to punch down at the nearest available target to rebuild his shattered self-image. Textbook insecurity. Ilya exploded. My lord is the direct heir of the Wind Dragon family. How dare you speak to him like this? Malford sneered. A family without territory, a noble without land. You're a stray dog with a fancy name. If Lady Ashley hadn't forbidden killing you, you think you'd have left with those wolf cubs? So Ashley had been protecting me. Interesting. Filed that away. But right now, this clown needed handling. Eileen, please educate Sir Malford, I said calmly. You're sending a slave against me. Malford was genuinely offended. He'd spotted the slave brand on Eileen's neck. He's my attendant. Beat him first, then we'll talk. Eileen dismounted with an expression that could freeze lava. He'd been holding back rage for weeks watching Malford disrespect me. Finally unleashed. Malford drew his fancy knight's sword. Longer, higher quality than Eileen's hand-and-a-half blade. He was actually dangerous, swordsmanship nearly at advanced level, years of dedicated training. The reason he'd been chief knight wasn't just politics. The man could genuinely fight. Most trainee knights only mastered one combat technique to high level in their entire careers. Die, Malford lunged, his blade blurring with speed and power. A strike he was completely confident would end this instantly. Eileen's steel shield spun, catching the knight's sword perfectly. Then his blade flicked upward in one fluid motion and sliced Malford's hand off at the wrist. Clean. Surgical. Beautiful. Blood sprayed everywhere. Malford screamed. Then his scream choked into shocked silence as his brain processed what his eyes were seeing. Advanced swordsmanship. Proficient shield technique. How? Because in this world, mastering 2 techniques to that level at Eileen's age was supposed to be impossible. Years of grinding, exceptional talent required. What Malford didn't know was that Eileen had a cheat code named System Upgrade Plus Breathing Technique, working 24 hours a day. Malford stared at his severed hand on the ground, turned pale green, grabbed his stump to stop the bleeding, shot us one last poisonous look, jumped on his horse one-handed, and galloped away without a single word. Blood drops marked his retreat like a trail of humiliation breadcrumbs. Was I too harsh, sir? Eileen asked, looking slightly worried. If he hadn't been arrogant, you couldn't have beaten him in one move. But within 30 exchanges? He'd lose regardless. His technique was good. Your technique was better, and you had 2 of them. Multiple mastered combat skills versus 1. That's the advantage my soldiers have over everyone in this world. I watched Malford's shrinking figure and smiled. Go ahead, report this. Tell your lord that the stray dog slave cut your hand off in a single exchange. I'm sure that conversation will go wonderfully for you. 29 war horses, 800 plus gold, 2 tier 4 soldiers with breathing techniques, and a chief knight who'd need to learn left-handed swordsmanship. We rode northeast. The wasteland stretched wide open before us. We traveled slow and careful because deeper wasteland equals more things wanting to eat you. Basic math. By sunset, I picked a campsite next to a small river in a maple forest. According to the map, Maple Leaf territory was just half a day ahead. Time for my favorite trick, instant fortress construction. I pulled stockpiled oak logs from my inventory, the hard stuff we'd harvested from the mist forest, and my soldiers hammered them into the ground, tied them together, and built a 20-meter-tall circular wooden fortress 50 meters across, hidden among the maple trees, practically invisible from a distance. Any normal mercenary squad would have slept behind some bushes and prayed. We had a full-blown military base materialized from my magical pocket dimension. After dinner, I found Ilya and Irek still training outside the walls in the maple grove. Ilya fired an arrow that screamed through the air with a new precision. Her bow technique had just broken through to proficient, but I could see the frustration underneath. Aileen and Bandak had both reached Tier 4, leaving her and Irek behind. As original family retainers, they felt they should be the strongest. Getting surpassed by former slaves stung their pride badly. I reassured her, "You're doing double duty as quartermaster and warrior." They train full-time. Plus, you and Irek have the falcon breathing technique. Your ceiling is way higher than theirs. Don't rush it, she nodded, but I could tell she'd be training twice as hard tomorrow. Competition breeds excellence. Standing on the wall later, I felt autumn's first chill. Winter was coming, and with it, fewer mercenary jobs. After this mission, I needed to seriously plan my pioneer license application. But founding a territory required massive capital, population, farming tools, guards, buildings. Money I didn't quite have yet. Then something crawled under my skin. Not literally, just instinct. Something was wrong. I stared into the darkness and realized silence. Total silence. No insects. No animal calls. Early autumn should be buzzing with life. This forest was dead quiet, like someone had pressed mute on nature. Double the watch tonight, I told Bandak before sleeping. Halt. Identify or we shoot. A guard shout yanked me awake. Armor on, wall climbed, eyes straining into pitch darkness. No moon, no stars tonight. Shapes were approaching. Fast. Silent. Completely ignoring our warnings. Bandak fired an arrow into one's neck at 50 paces. Perfect shot. Advanced archery. Couldn't miss at that range. The figure didn't slow down, didn't flinch, didn't even acknowledge the arrow dangling from its throat. Torches. Now. Nick threw a burning torch with throwing axe precision. It smacked against one of the figures and illuminated our nightmare. Zombies. Actual, literal, undead zombies. Rotting clothes, dried out flesh like tree bark, exposed intestines hanging from split bellies. And unlike every zombie movie I'd ever watched in my previous life, these things were fast, as quick as my Tier 3 soldiers. No shambling, no groaning, just silent sprinting death. 45 total, sir, Ilya counted instantly. Professional even while terrified. Love that woman. Bandak, try the eyes. Maybe destroying the brain would work? Bandak drilled a wolf-fang arrow straight through a zombie's eye socket. It penetrated a few centimeters and stuck. The zombie kept running like it had a mild inconvenience, not an arrow in its brain. These things couldn't be stopped by damage. Arrows were decoration to them. They reached our wall. The smooth oak logs and sharp spikes initially blocked them. No handholds, no gaps. For about 30 seconds, I felt relief. Then they started building human ladders, climbing on each other's shoulders, stacking bodies, reaching upward with mechanical determination. The first zombie crawled over the wall edge. Its rotting face came into view, hollow eyes, exposed jaw muscles, the smell, and my hardened, battle-tested soldiers who'd survived trolls, ogres, and magical wolves froze. Every single one. Weapons raised but motionless. Paralyzed by pure primal horror. Because training prepares you for enemies that bleed when you cut them. Nobody trains you for enemies that are already dead. The squad leaders snapped out of it quickly, but the regular soldiers, especially Ilya's female guards, were shaking like leaves in a hurricane. Turns out, even in a magical world, undead monsters trigger some deep primal terror that training can't prepare you for. I was scared too, honestly. Knowing zombies exist intellectually and watching one climb your wall with its guts hanging out are very different experiences. I grabbed the meteorite club and smashed the first zombie's skull with a heavy strike technique. Over 1,000 pounds of force meeting rotten cranium. It popped like a watermelon and the thing dropped dead. Actually dead this time. So that was the trick. Destroy the brain. You're supposed to conquer this wasteland with me, and you're freezing at weak zombies? Smash their skulls. They die. My officers turned red with shame and grabbed their weapons. Leadership through public embarrassment works wonders. I organized the defense. Nick's Derek axemen as skullcrackers, Swadians and female guards finishing with swords through the exposed brain matter. Assembly line zombie extermination. The wall echoed with sickening crunching sounds that I'll hear in my nightmares forever. Thank God for those oak logs. Without my inventory-spawned fortress, tonight would have been a massacre. These zombies had razor-sharp black fingernails leaking dark energy and elongated fangs dripping probable poison. One scratch likely meant death by corpse toxin. After 35 kills, the remaining zombies couldn't stack high enough to reach us. Perfect. Nick's crew threw axes down, cracking skulls open, and I sniped the exposed brain matter with arrows through the gaps. Like the world's most disgusting carnival game. Killing the last zombie triggered a breakthrough. My archery jumped to advanced level, dragging mounted archery to proficient simultaneously. 5 phantom years of bow training, 3 years of horseback shooting, all compressed into seconds. My body strengthened again with the upgrade. Even better, Ilya and Irek's swordsmanship hit proficient, and Nick's axe technique reached proficient too. All 3 qualified for Tier 4 upgrades. But I deliberately waited. Their bodies were already processing combat breakthrough energy. Stacking a Tier 4 system upgrade on top could cause serious damage. I'd learned that lesson personally when I nearly exploded from simultaneous stat boosts. I told them simply, "You can upgrade soon." Their eyes went wide with reverent excitement. I didn't explain further. Mystery enhances authority. Eileen's team extracted zombie fangs, 30 gold each at the Crow Cottage. Even undead attacks had profit margins. Bandak kept watch for stragglers. None came. Dawn brought a surprise. Sunlight literally dissolved the zombie corpses into ash and black mist. Whatever dark energy animated them evaporated under solar radiation. Creepy but convenient. No cleanup needed. After overnight digestion, everyone's blood energy stabilized. Upgrade time. Ilya became a Tier 4 female guardian. Swordsmanship and archery both jumping to advanced, shield defense reaching proficient. Irek became Swadian heavy cavalry with matching upgrades plus spear and horsemanship unlocked. Neither received breathing techniques because their existing Falcon method already handled energy absorption. Nick became Derek senior infantry. Axe skills advanced, throwing axes proficient, and did receive a custom breathing technique matched to his bloodline. All 3 immediately sat down cross-legged, desperately running breathing exercises to absorb the tsunami of power flooding their bodies. 5 Tier 4 soldiers now. My little mercenary squad was quietly becoming the most terrifying small unit in the Eastern Wasteland. Zombies, defeated. Profits, collected. Officers, upgraded. Sleep quality, absolutely destroyed forever. I packed up the fortress logs into my inventory, and we rolled out mid-morning. 5 Tier 4 officers now. Ilya had become the strongest with 2 advanced level techniques, which was supposedly impossible in this world. My little squad was accidentally becoming legendary. Then we crested a hill and saw maple leaf territory, or what was left of it. Smashed wooden walls, collapsed buildings, people hauling mangled corpses to a riverside bonfire. The zombies had hit here too, except way harder than what we'd faced. My immediate thought, turn around, abandon this mission, go home. This was above my pay grade. Then a middle-aged man on horseback galloped over. Korahin, the territory's administrator, practically begging us to stay. Their lord desperately needed mercenaries. He'd pay generously and sign off on our original exploration task as completed. Free paperwork plus cash? Tempting. But I hesitated. That destruction looked serious. Korahin sweetened the deal. They discovered how to kill zombies efficiently. Silver weapons. Silver penetrates zombie skulls and hearts far easier than iron. 3 trainee knights died learning this lesson, but now their blacksmiths were forging silver arrowheads and spear tips. They just needed fighters to use them. I consulted my officers. Aileen shrugged confidently. We'd slaughtered 45 zombies last night without silver weapons. Everyone agreed. Plus, zombie fangs were worth 30 gold each at the Crow Cottage. More zombies meant more money. Risk versus reward calculation, acceptable. We entered the territory. It was rough, thin wooden walls, barely started farmland, a half-built stone headquarters that had clearly been last night's final defensive position. Everything screamed, new settlement struggling to survive. The Lord emerged, an exhausted 18-year-old with silver hair named Roka Celta. Then Korahin dropped a bombshell. The sole heir of the violent Bear Earl family, Ilya gasped. Before I could ask why she cared, she announced my identity. My lord is Horde Kalinsa, sole heir of the Wind Dragon family. I almost glared at her. Why reveal that? But Ilya knew imperial noble history better than I ever would. Rokas nearly fell over. The Horde, Ilya explained quickly. The violent bear family had been Wind Dragon's most loyal allies for centuries. When my family fell, theirs crumbled too. We were basically disaster buddies from historically allied noble houses. Rokas treated me like visiting royalty. Tea, formal seating, genuine respect. Inside, he told his story. 6 months ago, he'd claimed this territory through a pioneer license. Initially promising, then people started vanishing. Zombies appeared. He'd posted mercenary missions for separate groups, entered a suspicious valley 10 kilometers away. None returned. Ever. Then last night, massive zombie swarms attacked the settlement directly. Devastating casualties. His territory was barely surviving. But here's what chilled me. His pioneer license specified this exact location. Not a general direction like Harling's got. A precise, mandatory spot, right next to a zombie-infested death valley. Coincidence? The Fire Dragon royal family controlled pioneer assignments. They deliberately sent allied families of Wind Dragon into death traps. Ilya and I exchanged heavy looks. The political implications were terrifying. Someone in the Empire wanted the violent bear family dead. And eventually, they'd want me dead too. Rokas wasn't stupid. Is the Empire deliberately targeting my family? He asked quietly. I laid it out. Ilya explained the history. 5 founding Duke families built the Swadian Empire together. Wind Dragon controlled the north. Fire Dragon became the royal family. Others split east, west, and south. Originally, they were allies, not ruler and subjects. But when my grandfather got killed fighting beastmen and Wind Dragon collapsed, Fire Dragon swallowed the north, seized control of pioneer assignments, and started slowly strangling every allied family. The violent bear family was Wind Dragon's most loyal vassal for centuries. When we fell, they fell. Now Rokas gets a pioneer license pointing him at a zombie-infested death valley. Coincidence? About as coincidental as a knife finding someone's back repeatedly. Boiling frogs, I said. Kill allied families slowly through impossible pioneer assignments. No dramatic purge that might alarm other nobles. Just quiet extinction through conveniently dangerous locations. Rokas looked pale. We're already powerless. Why bother finishing us? I'll verify it myself. When I apply for MY Pioneer license, watch what location they assign me. If it's somewhere suicidal, we'll know for certain. Heavy silence. Then Rokas clenched his fists. Everything my family had is invested here. I'm not abandoning it. Respect. Stupid, but respectable. Then tonight we fight together, I said. Tell me about the silver weapons. His story was tragic. Last night, his strongest knight, dying, sword stolen by zombies, stabbed one with a decorative silver dagger. It penetrated instantly where iron couldn't scratch. He died seconds later, but his discovery saved everyone remaining. Silver was zombie kryptonite. Current situation, 3 trainee knights left including Rokas, 50 militia with maybe 10 mediocre archers, 1,200 civilians total. Against potentially unlimited zombies from a mysterious valley. Not great odds. I started giving orders like I owned the place. Melt every silver coin, every silver fork, every silver candlestick. Make silver arrowheads for my 11 archers and silver spear tips for 14 infantry. Find someone who can reinforce our bows. We need stronger draw weight. Rokas offered 2 family heirloom crossbows requiring 1,000-pound arm strength. Nobody in his territory could even string them. For me and my Tier 4 soldiers? Easy Tuesday. Finally, weapons matching our actual power level. I handed over all our silver coins to Korahin for smelting and sent Eileen's soldiers to help the blacksmiths. Every minute before sunset counted. But I told Rokas the uncomfortable truth. Defending the town was temporary. Without investigating that valley and finding the zombie source, they'd keep coming forever. Every night, more undead, until nothing remained. He knew. He just couldn't face it yet. Walking outside, I calculated silently. Zombie fangs worth 30 gold each. Silver weapons that actually worked. A politically allied noble who'd be eternally grateful for help. And somewhere nearby, a valley full of undead monsters guarding something nobody had survived seeing. The smart move was leaving. The profitable move was staying. The move that might eventually save my own family's legacy? Also staying. Because if Fire Dragon was systematically eliminating allied families, then Rokas and I needed each other. Lonely extinction or allied survival. Easy choice. Tonight we'd hold the walls. Tomorrow we'd plan something crazier. Rokas brought out 2 family heirloom bows, and I nearly proposed marriage to them. Iron-framed divine arm bows. Composite masterpieces of unknown hardwood, beast horn, sinew, and refined alloy steel. The metal wasn't ordinary, impossibly elastic, probably crafted by an alchemist wizard. Beautiful dark red bodies carved with intricate patterns. Weapons that belonged in a museum, not a crumbling frontier settlement. Rokas suggested testing them. I pointed at a black boulder 200 steps away with a white mineral circle resembling a bullseye. He looked skeptical. I drew a regular arrow, pulled the bow to full draw, and released. The arrow punched 1 finger deep in a solid rock with a thunderous crack. Rokas looked like someone had slapped him with a fish. Incredible shooting. With armor-piercing arrows, this bow could kill anything short of a dragon. I kept one, gave the second to Bandak, and passed my old composite bow to Ilya. Equipment trickle-down economics. After lunch, Ilya quietly handed me a cloth bundle. 46 zombie fangs excavated from last night's battlefield. Rokas's people had buried the zombie remains after sunrise dissolved the bodies. My soldiers dug them up because we're resourceful like that. 46 fangs times 30 gold each. My inner accountant was dancing. Sunset arrived. Terrified civilians huddled inside the Lord's stone headquarters while we prepared for round 2. Korahin reported they'd melted every silver object in the territory. Coins, jewelry, decorations, probably someone's grandmother's favorite spoon, producing 180 silver arrows and 6 silver-tipped spears. Not enough, but workable. Rokas gave a speech to his people. Slaves who killed a zombie earned freedom and farmland. Free citizens got 10 gold coins per kill. The crowd's trembling decreased from earthquake to moderate shivering. Progress. Then Rokas did something smart. Handed me command authority. His forces were weaker, so letting my team lead maximized survival chances. I immediately delegated to Aileen because future generals need practice, not permanent hand-holding. Aileen performed brilliantly. Archers concentrated northeast, facing the zombie approach. Civilians split into 3 rotating shifts on the walls, 1 meter spacing, primary job being blocking climbers, not fighting. My professional soldiers positioned at critical points as the real killing force. Tight. Logical, effective. I nodded approvingly. 10 o'clock. The stench hit first, rotting death carried on the wind. Then the maple forest started shaking. Trees swaying without wind. Shadows emerging. Dozens of zombies pouring from the tree line like a nightmare assembly line. Aim for hearts. Fire, Bandak commanded at 100 paces. Silver arrows flew. And this time, oh, this was beautiful. They worked perfectly. Silver arrowheads hit zombie skin and produced black smoke on contact, punching clean through into hearts. Zombies dropped instantly. No more bouncing off stone-hard flesh. No more arrows dangling uselessly from necks. Silver was the answer to every frustration from last night. My divine arm bow sang death with every pull. Each arrow was a guaranteed kill at distances that would have been impossible before. Bandak's bow matched mine shot for shot. 11 archers raining silver-tipped judgment from the walls. The zombie horde kept coming. But now we had the tools to fight back properly. Science beats horror. Always. Rokas watched my archers with his jaw on the floor. 10 shooters, 100-step range, 0 misses. Every silver arrow punched through zombie hearts with a satisfying black smoke sizzle. He couldn't comprehend how I'd assembled this mini elite marksman. In this world, skilled archers were rarer than honest politicians. But math was against us. 10 archers versus hundreds of zombies meant we'd run dry eventually. The zombies charged mindlessly until they hit our pit traps, crash, tumbling into oil-soaked hay. Bandak lit them up with a fire arrow. Beautiful bonfire of undead stupidity. They kept jumping in anyway because zombie IQ apparently rounds to 0. Then everything changed. A roar from the forest. Every zombie froze mid-charge and retreated to 100 paces. Organized. Coordinated. Did this happen last night? I asked Rokas urgently. His face went white. Never. Something intelligent was commanding them now. A zombie general had entered the chat. Aileen immediately ordered arrow conservation. Silver supplies were limited. Save them for the boss. When zombies surged again, it became wall-to-wall melee combat. They built body ladders against our 7-meter stone walls, climbing each other like grotesque cheerleader pyramids. I switched to my silver-tipped spear and went to work. Advanced thrust technique turned my weapon into a silver blur, 1 stab per zombie brain, black smoke puffing, body tumbling. I single-handedly defended 30 meters of wall. Aileen and Irek covered 20 meters each with their newly acquired spear skills. Nick's axemen crushed skulls efficiently. We were a killing machine. The magic wolf meat I'd fed everyone at dinner was paying dividends. Sustained energy, extended stamina, longer combat endurance. Best pre-battle meal ever invented. But civilians were dying. Zombies grabbed defenders off the walls, drained their blood, devoured their flesh. Worse, some strong victims didn't get eaten. They got infected instead, turning zombie within minutes and attacking their own neighbors. The zombie king was deliberately converting reinforcements. Recruiting mid-battle. That's terrifyingly smart for something supposedly dead. My thrust technique broke through to advanced level during the fighting. 3 phantom years of training compressed into combat seconds. My spear became even deadlier, silver tip dancing through the darkness like liquid moonlight, dropping zombies faster than they could climb. Aileen and Irek's spear skills also jumped to proficient. My whole squad was evolving in real time through combat, exactly as designed. Then the roar. From the maple forest emerged something that made regular zombies look like puppies. Taller, covered in black scale-like skin armor. Fingernails like 10-centimeter scythe blades glowing with dark energy. Fangs thick as tiger teeth. Each stride covered 10 meters. The zombie king, coming straight for me. Apparently my blood energy was like a neon restaurant sign reading, "All you can eat." This thing wanted to devour my life force for a power upgrade. Flattering and absolutely horrifying simultaneously. Bandak and Ilya grabbed their bows instantly. Silver arrows hit the king's chest and bounced. Just scorch marks. Regular silver couldn't penetrate this thing's armored hide. "Protect the Lord," Aileen screamed. The zombie king closed the distance like a freight train made of nightmares, heading directly for my section of wall. Behind it, hundreds of regular zombies surged forward with renewed frenzy. 1 divine arm bow, a handful of silver arrows, and a boss monster that shrugged off everything my best archers could throw. Time to see if advanced level archery plus an alchemist-crafted superweapon could solve this equation. The zombie king commanded his minions to pile into a living staircase, then sprinted up their bodies and launched onto the wall. His scythe claws came screaming at my face. I met him with advanced level thrust technique. Silver spear tip splitting into dozens of phantom strikes. Silver on zombie flesh produced satisfying black smoke holes in his palms. But my wooden spear shaft exploded from the impact. Cheap materials plus maximum power equals kindling. Wonderful. I ducked, pretended to grab something from the wall, and secretly yanked the meteorite club from my inventory. Nobody noticed because everyone was busy not dying. Meteorite versus zombie king. Boom, boom, boom. Thunder-like collisions rocking the entire wall. This thing was strong, faster and tougher than anything I'd fought. Even with advanced techniques, every clash sent blood trickling from my mouth. His undead body absorbed impacts that would shatter human bones. Pure force contests favored the thing that couldn't feel pain. Aileen flanked brilliantly, silver spear tip stabbing the king's back whenever it focused on me. Each silver wound left burning marks that kept damaging it. Perfect teamwork. I hammered frontally. Aileen needled from behind. The king screamed, ordering all zombies into berserker mode. More civilians got dragged screaming off the walls. Chaos everywhere. Then my spinning spear technique broke through to advanced. 5 phantom years of training crystallizing mid-combat. Fresh strength flooded my muscles. I switched techniques instantly. The meteorite club became a high-speed rotating drill that collided with the king's claws and sheared them off. Broken claw fragments scattered like black glass. The king actually showed fear. While it hesitated, Eileen stabbed its skull from behind, burning wound on the back of its head. It spun toward Eileen, and I smashed its forehead with a spinning strike, cracking the skull open. The king leaped off the wall and ran. Smart zombie, but not smart enough. I dropped the club, grabbed my divine arm bow. Ilya tossed me a silver arrow mid-motion. Beautiful throw, beautiful catch. Bandak and I fired simultaneously. 2 silver-tipped meteors punched through the cracked skull wound. Black smoke erupted like a volcano. The zombie king faceplanted permanently. Without their commander, remaining zombies lost all coordination. 50 brainless corpses stumbling back toward our walls on pure instinct. My archers spent their remaining silver arrows cleaning house. 30 minutes later, silence. 0 soldier casualties. Again, Eileen's tactical deployment plus civilian meat shields plus superior weapons equaled survival. Brutal math, but accurate. Level 13 now. 5 attribute points saved. Polearm skills at 330, archery at 310. I desperately needed the meteorite iron forged into a proper spear. Using a blunt club against armored undead was like performing surgery with a baseball bat. Upgrade time. Benekuk became Swadian heavy cavalry. 1 Derrick soldier and 1 Doro archer reached tier 4. 1 female guard became a female guardian. Blacksmith Wibart upgraded to advanced blacksmith, costing extra because craftsmen are apparently premium subscriptions. Total upgrade bill, 104 gold coins. My wallet wept its familiar tears. But 9 tier 4 soldiers now, each matching high-level trainee knight power. A squad that survived trolls, ogres, magical wolves, and a zombie king without losing a single member. Standing on that blood-soaked wall at dawn, I had one thought. I need a real weapon. Time to turn 4,000 pounds of space metal into the deadliest spear this world has ever seen. Rokus bowed, deeply thanking me for saving his entire territory. Then he immediately tried to pay me with the 2 divine arm bows instead of actual gold coins. Classic broke lord move. Here, take my grandma's silverware instead of money. I accepted because those bows were genuinely irreplaceable weapons, but I noticed the cheapskate energy. Then he asked me to explore the zombie valley. Using family heirloom bows as payment for both last night's battle and a Death Valley expedition, this guy negotiated like a used cart salesman. But the Crow Cottage wanted death mushrooms that grew in undead-contaminated areas, so I agreed for my own reasons. What I didn't know, and this is the part that makes my blood boil in retrospect, was what happened after I left. Rokus immediately ordered his steward Korahin to approach Aileen and Nick while I was gone. The offer? Freedom, knight titles, and officer positions if they'd abandon me and join Rokus permanently. Then Rokus said something that would have earned him a meteorite club to the face. If Horde dies in that valley, I inherit his soldiers and equipment. We were historically his family's vassals, so legally it works perfectly. Korahin called him brilliant. Rokus laughed and said he'd make sure I went deep enough into the valley to never return. Because apparently everyone who'd ever descended into that canyon had died, including formal knights. This sniveling, hiding during battles, penny-pinching backstabber was planning my murder using a zombie canyon as his weapon. The guy I'd just saved from extinction. The guy whose ancestors served him my family. Calling me, young lord, to my face while plotting my funeral behind my back. Allies in this world are like soup. They look warm and inviting until someone spits in the bowl. Ilya worried when I announced I'd only bring Bandak and 1 archer. I told her to stay behind counting zombie fangs. Every fong meant 30 gold coins, and I trusted nobody else with inventory management. We rode northeast through rolling maple hills for dozens of miles until we reached the valley. Except, valley was generous. This was a massive crack in the earth stretching northward forever, walls of sheer cliff dropping into impenetrable black fog. Even under blazing noon sun, the darkness inside refused to dissolve, like staring into the earth's throat. One sloped section showed climbing marks, the zombie highway to the surface. Rokus pointed it out helpfully, while secretly hoping it would be my grave. He fed me an obvious lie. His knight had explored inside before. It should be safe now since we killed the zombies. There might be treasure down there. Basically dangling shiny objects over a death pit. Bandak got excited about potential loot. I tied ropes to a boulder and asked Rokas to watch our lifeline. He agreed with a smile that I now realized was a wolf grinning at a sheep. We descended. 60-degree slope narrowing into a winding path between cliff walls. Black fog swallowed us completely. Immediately I felt it, my blood energy being slowly drained by the darkness itself. Like the fog was drinking my life force one sip at a time. Only high-level trainee knights could even survive down here. Above us, Rokas watched our rope disappear into the blackness, smiling his treacherous little smile, probably already mentally redecorating my tent. Joke's on you, buddy. I've survived trolls, ogres, magical wolves, and zombie kings. Your little canyon doesn't scare me much. We hit the valley floor, and my jaw dropped. Ancient battlefield. Bones everywhere, layered thick like horrifying carpeting. Rusted armor, broken weapons, dead leaves covering centuries of carnage. Something catastrophic had happened here long ago. We're rich. Bandak started digging through debris like a kid at Christmas. Kohler joined him, equally manic. I spotted death mushrooms, black, glowing, growing among bones. 100 gold each on the Crow Cottage list. I harvested every single one into my inventory while grinning like a maniac. Bandak found an uncorroded sword buried under bones. Impossible. Everything else had rotted. This was special. Into the inventory. Kendar found a pristine spear. Also special. Also inventoried. We kept finding treasures and pushing deeper, completely drunk on greed. Then my system screamed. Beep, beep, beep. My name had turned red on the status panel. I suddenly realized my legs were jelly, my blood energy nearly zero. The black fog had been silently draining our life force this entire time while amplifying our greed to keep us exploring. Psychological warfare from mist. This fog was essentially a Venus flytrap made of darkness. Retreat. Now, I shouted. Bandak and Kandar argued. Eyes bloodshot, skin turning grayish-black, completely possessed by treasure fever. I had to physically yell commands using my authority as their lord to snap them partially awake. Heading back, I spotted a black book under a skeleton, Mullen's notes, in small text, cover glowing with dark energy, completely undecayed. Grabbed it. Questions later, survival now. Footsteps behind us. Hundreds of them. Zombies converging from deeper in the canyon like an undead subway at rush hour. Bandak and Kandar collapsed. Consciousness gone, bodies limp as noodles. System alarms screaming nonstop in my skull. I burned one precious attribute point into Constitution. Blood energy restored instantly. Alarm stopped. I grabbed both unconscious men and sprinted. Reached the slope. Pulled the rope. It fell. Cut loose from above. Of course. Of course. Rokas the backstabbing little weasel had untied our lifeline. Everything clicked. The generous bow payment. The enthusiastic valley recommendation. Sending me down a hole nobody returns from. He wanted me dead so he could inherit my soldiers. I burned another attribute point. Full power restored. Grabbed both men. Activated movement techniques. And rocketed up the slope. Emerging into sunlight, I deliberately collapsed, pretending total exhaustion. Crawled pathetically toward the edge, calling for help. Rokas appeared above me, grinning, sword drawn. His two knights flanked him with spears. You shouldn't have climbed out, dear young lord. Your soldiers will make excellent inheritance for me. Such a shame about the archers, too. I really liked them. He actually monologued. I warned him about the zombie army below. He laughed and called me naive. Kill him, Rokas ordered. 2 spears thrust downward. I exploded upward, grabbed both spears simultaneously, and yanked. 2 knights tumbled past me down the slope, vanishing into black fog. Crunching sounds, screaming, then chewing noises. The zombies appreciated the delivery. I leaped onto solid ground carrying Bandak and Kandar, standing over a suddenly very alone Rokas whose murder plan had just cost him both bodyguards. Turns out betraying the guy who killed your zombie king is extraordinarily stupid strategy. You were faking, Rokas squeaked. Surprise. Turns out the guy who killed your zombie king isn't actually helpless. Shocking, I know. I drew my sword slowly, savoring his terror. The man who'd been calling me, young lord, while planning my funeral, now looked like a rat cornered by a cat. He groveled spectacularly, offering his family crest, his territory, his firstborn probably. Classic villain who just lost energy. But snakes don't become puppies because they got caught biting. One sword swing, one spray of blood, one less backstabber breathing my air. I took his crest, his weapons, his coin purse, and kicked his carcass into the zombie canyon. Fitting burial for a traitor, becoming dinner for the same monsters I'd saved him from. I loaded unconscious Bandak and Kandar onto horses and rode back with all 6 mounts. At the settlement, Korahin, the steward, rushed over asking about his master. I delivered my rehearsed story. Zombies ambushed us, Rokus died heroically, gave me everything. We're evacuating immediately. Korahin didn't buy it. Started screaming about tribunals and hangings. So Ilya put an arrow through him mid-sentence. Efficient woman. No time for courtroom drama when zombies are coming. I addressed the terrified civilians. Your lord died. I'm in charge now. The canyon has more zombies. Silver weapons are gone. We leave in 2 hours or we die tonight. Pack food, grab essentials, move fast. Panic. Chaos. Exactly what I expected. But fear is an excellent motivator. Back at camp, I fed Magic Wolf meat broth to Bandak and Kandar. Then noticed my 3 officers, Eileen, Nick, Irek, standing like guilty schoolchildren avoiding eye contact. Turns out Korahin had approached them behind my back, offering knighthood and freedom to switch allegiances. He contacted you. You didn't approach him. Why feel guilty? I laughed. Besides, Rokus tried murdering me. He's currently being digested. Problem solved. Their relief was palpable. We'd die before leaving you, Eileen declared solemnly. Save the dramatic speeches. Go help Ilya pack. Ilya's inventory report was staggering. 832 civilians, mostly young slave laborers. 824 gold coins. 25 war horses, 60 regular horses, 30 carts. 200 swords. Blacksmiths, carpenters, masons, tailors, skilled workers I desperately needed. Plus 3,000 pounds of grain. An entire territory's assets, suddenly mine through the universe's most twisted inheritance process. From Rokus's bedroom, 1 iron chest containing Violent Bear family heirlooms, plus a crate of books. Into the inventory without examination. Curiosity waits, survival doesn't. We assembled the convoy in record time. 32 carts, 54 war horses, women and children riding, slaves jogging alongside. My soldiers scattered among the column as escorts with militia distributed between squads. Crossing the river as sunset painted the sky orange, a furious roar erupted from the distant canyon. The civilians nearly stampeded. Zombies were emerging, black shapes flooding toward the river, confirming everything I'd warned about. Everyone run, Aileen screamed. Horses galloped. Carts bounced. 800 civilians sprinted like Olympic athletes, discovering motivation through mortal terror. From the hilltop, I watched hundreds of zombies crossing the river below, gaining on us with mechanical determination. 1 backstabbing ally, eliminated. 1 zombie army, pursuing. 800 new dependents, panicking. 1 transmigrator with a magical inventory full of ancient weapons and mushrooms, running for his life while doing mental accounting. Today's lesson. In this world, monsters wear human faces too. Trust your system. Trust your soldiers. Trust nobody else. Zombies were gaining on 800 panicking civilians. Time for rearguard action. Ilya with me. Everyone else keep running. I wheeled my horse around and galloped back toward the horde. 200 paces out, I spotted the leader, taller, red-eyed, clearly intelligent. 1 silver arrow through his heart. He staggered, stopped, and the entire zombie army stuttered like a video buffering. Their pursuit speed dropped immediately. He roared. They resumed chasing. But I discovered the cheat code. This zombie king controlled them within about 100 pace radius. Beyond that, the regular zombies became confused, directionless, slow. Shoot the king, everyone pauses. Simple crowd control. I kept harassing, riding close, shooting, retreating. Second silver arrow right between his eyes. More black smoke, more stumbling. The zombies slowed again. I played this cat-and-mouse game until moonlight revealed something beautiful. The zombies had stopped at the edge of Maple Leaf Valley. Territorial boundaries. They wouldn't chase beyond their domain. The angry king howled into the night like a rejected ex-boyfriend watching you drive away. Satisfying. We camped 30 miles out on a defensible hilltop. Wolves probed us overnight, but got arrow-discouraged quickly. Next morning, Bandak and Kandar finally woke up, apologetic and ashamed. I waved it off. The canyon's mind-controlling fog wasn't their fault. Then Ilya dropped a legal bombshell. Imperial law prohibited nobles without pioneer licenses from traveling with more than 100 slaves. No license, no large-scale people moving. Even passing through towns required per-head taxes that would bankrupt us. Our Eagle Beak Valley base was technically illegal already, just hidden well enough that nobody noticed. Two options: sell the civilians to an existing territory, or hide them in the mist forest until I got my license. Option 2 was risky: forest monsters, legal exposure, massive food costs. Option 1 meant less people, but more gold. I chose gold. Safety over ambition. But I told my officers to carefully evaluate everyone first. Anyone with combat aptitude or useful skills got pulled aside for potential recruitment. We traveled slowly for a week while conducting evaluations. During this time, I finally examined those weapons from the Death Canyon. After cleaning, I nearly dropped them in shock. Blood weapons. All 5. 2 knight's swords, 2 lances, 1 battle axe. Forged from blood steel. Wizard Guild metal infused with magical beast energy, merged with refined steel. These weapons had blood-colored veins running through them like living arteries. They could channel a warrior's blood energy, becoming harder and sharper with use. Self-maintaining, corrosion-proof, and capable of producing devastating energy blades at high power levels. The axe had hair-thin blood veins, lowest quality. But one sword had layered scale-like patterns of blood steel that looked like dragon skin. Museum-grade masterwork. 5 weapons worth more than everything I'd earned combined, pulled from a pile of ancient bones by a greedy transmigrator who almost died getting them. I hid them immediately. These stayed secret until absolutely necessary. Near Harling's territory, Ged found us during patrol. I told him the official story. Rokus died fighting zombies, left me his people. Totally tragic. Completely unavoidable. Nothing suspicious whatsoever. Ged offered to buy the civilians for Harling's territory, which had recently lost population to wolves and ogres. Perfect buyer. I sent Ilya and Benekuk as negotiators because Ilya could squeeze gold from a stone and Benekuk had the poker face of a professional diplomat. 800 civilians about to become someone else's workforce. 5 blood weapons hidden in my inventory. Ancient battlefield treasures, death mushrooms, zombie fangs, and a mysterious book called Molin's Notes, waiting to be examined. I'd entered Maple Leaf Valley as a mercenary doing a side quest. I left as a man carrying a dead family's legacy, an army's worth of supplies, and secrets from an ancient war nobody remembered. Not bad for a week's work. Minus the betrayal, near-death experience, and zombie marathon. Ilya returned with the deal. 8,500 gold for 752 slaves, all farming equipment, 51 horses, 27 carts, and extra weapons. Slightly undervalued, but arguing with the Fire Lion family's territory while carrying their chief knight's severed hand on my conscience seemed unwise. We kept 50 people, 32 combat recruits plus 18 skilled craftsmen. Sold. After the quickest handoff in medieval history, we bolted from Harling's territory at maximum speed. 81 people, 54 warhorses, 5 carts. I wanted distance because carrying this much gold made us a bandit buffet. What I didn't know was Malford had already released a messenger falcon the moment we left. That one-handed snake was plotting something. Again, that night, I cracked open Molin's Notes, the mysterious book from the Death Canyon. Strange material, coated in something preservative, filled with microscopic handwriting. After hours of squinting, I confirmed the author was a wizard's apprentice. An actual wizard's apprentice. This was a spellcaster's training journal. The book explained wizard fundamentals. Everything depended on spiritual power talent. You needed enough innate mental strength to practice meditation methods, which refined spiritual energy to manipulate magical elements and cast spells. Included was a meditation technique called the Owl's Gaze, a page featuring an incredibly lifelike carved owl eye that radiated creepy, supernatural energy. Instructions said, stare at the owl's eye for 10 minutes straight to begin learning meditation. I lasted approximately 3 minutes before the world spun like a washing machine and I face-planted onto my desk. Unconscious. My spiritual talent was apparently garbage tier for wizard standards. No meditation meant no spellcasting, so the cool wizard techniques recorded throughout were completely useless to me. I shelved the book, mildly disappointed but philosophically accepting. Maybe someday I'd dump attribute points into intelligence and retry. But currently, every point was desperately needed for not dying purposes. Next morning brought a pleasant surprise. Scouts spotted a 30-strong ogre tribe. Experience points and leather armor materials, just wandering around waiting to be harvested. I handed command to Bandak for training purposes. His plan was elegant. Mounted archers circle at 100 paces, pepper ogres with arrows, retreat when they charge, repeat until javelins are exhausted, then signal the melee squad. Textbook hit and run. 10 archers dropped 5 ogres in the first volley. Eyes, necks, weak spots. The ogres hurled javelins furiously but couldn't reach our horses at that distance. Bandak kept repositioning, firing, retreating. Ogres fell steadily without ever closing the gap. Beautiful frustration. Once their ammunition was spent, Bandak fired his signal arrow. Aileen and Irek charged on horseback, lances punching through ogre necks like skewers through kebabs. I followed, killing 2 more with consecutive thrust attacks. Bandak's archers returned for cleanup duty, picking off panicked survivors. 30 ogres eliminated. 0 injuries. Bandak's tactical style was noticeably more fluid than Eileen's structured approach, different strengths for different situations. Exactly what I wanted, multiple capable commanders with complementary styles. My leadership development program was working. Delegate authority, rotate command, build independent thinkers. Modern management theory applied to medieval monster extermination. We stripped the ogres for leather and organs, loaded everything up, and continued towards civilization carrying enough gold to buy a small kingdom and enough secrets to start a war. Ilya had the tailors skin the ogres right there on the battlefield. These 2 craftsmen were pros, collecting dry grass for ash, treating the hides with practiced efficiency. Quality personnel like this were irreplaceable for territory building. Ilya had recruited them with promises of status and salary. Smart woman handles the HR department, so I don't have to. Quick system check. Another Swadian light infantry ready for heavy cavalry upgrade. 20 gold coins, done. My gold reserves now sat at 10,214 coins. 5 digits. Months ago, I was sweating over 50 gold to stay alive. Now I had a small fortune stuffed in my magical pocket dimension. Life comes at you fast when you're grinding a cheat system. We left the ogre remains for nature's cleanup crew, crows circling overhead, wolves lurking in bushes, goblins peeking from distant holes like creepy little vultures. 0 waste in the wasteland ecosystem. That evening, I gathered my officers for squad expansion. 5 open roster slots. The 32 recruits we'd been evaluating needed homes. Aileen claimed 1 spot. Nick claimed 1. Bandak needed archers badly, so I gave him the remaining 3. Ilya accepted gracefully, trusting she'd get next round. Managing subordinate ambitions without creating resentment. Leadership skill number 4000. I also formalized unit designations. Eileen's cavalry squad, Bandak's archer squad, Nick's infantry squad, Ilya's guard squad. Clear structure, clear development paths. The 5 new soldiers swore loyalty. Sword tap on shoulder, medieval HR onboarding complete, and the system confirmed their enrollment with its characteristic notification chimes. Interesting discovery. The recruits' ethnicities didn't determine their class. A non-Derek person trained by Nick became Derek infantry. A non-Doro person trained by Bandak became Doro archer. The system assigned classes based on training methodology, not bloodline. Mechanical and inflexible, but exploitable. Good to know. Next day, rain. Cold autumn drizzle turning roads into mud rivers. My enhanced body barely noticed, but the regular recruits were shivering miserably. I had the tailors teach everyone to weave grass raincoats. Simple technology, massive morale improvement. Sometimes leadership isn't about killing monsters. It's about keeping people dry. Bandak navigated through the rain, using his hunter tracking abilities. No sun needed for direction. We aimed for River Bend territory, where Baron Hotrilio had been decent to us before. A warm roof sounded heavenly. We crested the final hill, and chaos. 2 towns in pandemonium. screaming civilians. Heron and Ho Trilio fighting desperately against something massive. A monster, crocodile-shaped, 2 meters tall, over 10 meters long, covered in black scales that deflected arrows like rubber balls. A spiraling horn protruded from its head. It moved through the muddy terrain like a tank on rails, jaws clamped around a child's body, blood streaming. Molin's notes had described this, a horned crocodile. Dragon-blooded amphibian. Loved rainy hunting days. Normally hid in deep swamps. Half-step magical beast, stronger than that jungle panther, with armor that made ogre skin look like tissue paper. The defenders' arrows bounced off uselessly. Their spears skidded across scales. In muddy rain, this thing was practically invincible through conventional weapons. And there I was, soaking wet on a hilltop, watching a dragon crocodile eat children in the settlement of the one friendly baron I'd met in this entire wasteland. Sometimes being a hero isn't a choice. It's just geography plus bad timing. Ilya asked the obvious question. Fight or flee? I did the math in 3 seconds. Rain plus nightfall plus open wilderness plus a dragon crocodile that loved water equaled death by ambush if we camped. Riverbend's defenders had already softened it up. Best odds were right now. Aileen, Nick, Irek, with me. Everyone else, stay. Then I did something I'd been saving for a special occasion. Pulled out the blood weapons. Aileen got a Bloodsteel Knight's lance. Nick got a Bloodsteel battle axe. Irek got a Bloodsteel Knight's sword. I swapped my regular spear for the second Bloodsteel lance. For riders. For legendary weapons. One giant crocodile. Let's party. We charged downhill into absolute carnage. The horned croc had demolished buildings like cardboard, eating fleeing civilians while Heron and Ho Trilio desperately harassed it on horseback. Their arrows bounced off its scales like spitballs off a tank. Their spears skidded uselessly across its armor. This thing was basically a mobile fortress with teeth. I fired a silver arrow at its eye from the divine arm bow. The stupid lizard closed its eyes. Even the eyelids had scales. My arrow left a bleeding scratch, but nothing lethal. In the rain, archery accuracy dropped significantly. The croc roared and charged straight at me like an angry freight train. Charge. 3 horses thundering downhill toward a 10-meter armored dinosaur. This was either brilliance or a suicide note with hoofbeats. The croc lunged with its spiral horn aimed at my chest. I activated spinning thrust technique at full gallop, adding the horse's momentum to my strike. Bloodsteel lance met crocodile forehead. The tip drilled through scales and bone like a hot knife through butter, sinking 50 centimeters into its skull. Blood weapons are insane. Regular lances would have shattered on impact. This one didn't even bend. The weapon technology gap between bloodsteel and normal iron was like comparing a laser to a flashlight. Simultaneously, Eileen's lance punched through one eye. Irek's bloodsteel sword slashed the other eye open while galloping past. 3 precision strikes in 2 seconds. The croc went blind and berserk, thrashing wildly in the mud. We pulled back and let it bleed out. Minutes later, silence. One dead dragon crocodile lying in bloody rainwater. Level up notification chimed. Fat experience from near magical beasts. Ho Trilio practically teleported to my side with gratitude. I casually asked for shelter from the rain. He nearly tripped over himself arranging accommodations. 10 houses plus 2 warehouses for my entire group. Ilya dressed me in a captured silk nobleman's jacket. When she saw me in it, her face turned tomato red. Apparently 6 months of monster hunting had transformed my body into something worth blushing at. Nearly 6 feet tall, perfectly proportioned, wearing fitted silk instead of bulky leather armor. Who knew the apocalypse was also a fitness program? At the castle dinner, Ho Trilio nearly cried. Literally. Red eyes, quivering lip, the works. Without family backing, pioneering is impossible. One monster sets me back 6 months. No formal night means no security. I can't survive. Heron dealt with the emotional moment by silently eating roast meat. Helpful contribution, buddy. Then Ho Trilio dropped an observation that made me freeze mid-chew. Those weapons you used, those are blood weapons. With even one of those, this beast couldn't have terrorized us. He'd recognized the ancient bloodsteel weapons instantly. Knowledgeable eyes on a crying man. He assumed they were Wind Dragon family heirlooms, and I didn't correct him. Let people build their own explanations. It's always better than the truth. The truth being, I looted them from a zombie-infested death canyon while high on greed-amplifying fog, nearly died twice, and killed the guy who tried to murder me for them. Some stories are better left untold at dinner parties. Hotrilio wanted a blood weapon. Badly. He practically had, "Please sell me one," tattooed on his forehead during dinner. I let him squirm before saying, "Go ahead, ask." His offer, a family blood technique called armor-piercing arrow. Once I became a formal knight, I could infuse arrows with blood energy, making them spin with devastating penetration. With bloodsteel arrowheads, even Tier 2 magical beasts would drop. The catch? Required archery at elite level, a threshold most warriors never reach in their entire lives. He watched me for a reaction. I chewed roast meat like a cow contemplating grass, completely unbothered. So he sweetened the deal, 2 bonus combat techniques, flying dagger and spinning throwing axe. I called them assassin tricks and secondary weapons, with theatrical disappointment. Hotrilio deflated like a punctured balloon. Then I smiled and accepted, because secretly, this deal was incredible for me. Other people needed decades of talent to reach elite-level archery. I had a weapon proficiency panel that could grind any skill to any level given enough time. Elite, legendary, just numbers on my screen. The blood technique was basically a future superweapon waiting for me to level up. The throwing techniques? Perfect for my Derrick infantry and their axe-throwing specialties. Every new technique my soldiers learned also boosted their physical stats through the system's hidden progression mechanics. More techniques meant stronger bodies. Simple multiplication. I traded 1 bloodsteel lance, my lowest priority weapon, for 3 combat manuals worth potentially thousands of gold. Hotrilio thought he'd negotiated brilliantly. I thought I'd committed highway robbery while being thanked for it. Win-win, technically. He got his dragon crocodile insurance policy. I got my future arsenal expansion. We celebrated with his best wine. Wonderful evening. Next morning, rain still drizzling, I practiced swordsmanship until my proficiency cracked 201. Sword technique officially reached proficient. 1 year of phantom training flooding my muscles and tendons. The improvement was subtle now. My body was already so enhanced that each breakthrough added less, but every fraction mattered. Because I'd figured out the optimal strategy for reaching formal knight status. The Wind Dragon family's ancestral training notes explained everything. Becoming a knight meant condensing a life seed, and the stronger your foundation, the better the seed, the higher your ceiling forever after. Attribute points dumped directly into constitution just inflated blood energy. Useful, but crude. Combat technique breakthroughs strengthened the body organically, building genuine structural foundation that life potions and monster meat couldn't match. Translation: stop spending attribute points on constitution. Save them for the knight breakthrough moment when I'd need explosive blood energy reserves. Meanwhile, grind every weapon skill relentlessly, letting technique breakthroughs build my foundation brick by brick. My father had rushed his knight condensation. Weak foundation, limited potential. He'd had no choice with the family crumbling. But I had the system. I could afford patience. At noon, Hotrilio personally delivered the blood technique scroll and both combat manuals. I verified their authenticity, genuine articles, not forgeries, and handed over the lance. He practically skipped away hugging it like a teddy bear. For blood weapons remaining. 3 new techniques acquired. Foundation strategy crystallized. Night breakthrough roadmap planned. The rain kept falling, but inside my borrowed room, the future looked considerably brighter. Hotrilio wanted to buy some of the dead crocodile's materials. He could have just taken everything. Lords technically owned everything on their land, but he asked politely like a gentleman. I told him to negotiate with Ilya because I don't do retail. Then he wanted help exploring that sealed cave again, the one with the underwater monster pool, because apparently nearly getting eaten by 1 giant reptile wasn't enough excitement for this man. Next morning, sun finally appeared. I split my forces. Aileen and Bandak came cave diving with me, while Nick and Irek took everyone else into the mist forest for lumber harvesting. My inventory was getting hungry for premium wood. We entered the cave and found exactly what we expected. The stone wall was smashed open. The horned crocodile had punched through like a scaly bulldozer. Inside, we cautiously examined the deep pool, 40 meters across, ink-black water, impossibly deep. I tossed a stick in. It slowly spiraled downward and vanished. Underground river connection confirmed. Hotrilio's face went gray. Underground rivers meant more crocodiles could swim in any time. His territory was basically built on top of a monster highway exit. Then Bandak dug through a sand pile near the pool and pulled out 2 basketball-sized eggs with glowing blue patterns. Dragon crocodile eggs. The mother had been nesting here. We'd sealed her nursery. She couldn't hunt, just laid eggs, went crazy hungry, and rampaged into town for food. Mystery solved through amphibian postpartum rage. I'll take 1 egg. You keep 1, I told Hotrilio. He agreed instantly. My inventory was becoming a magical zoo nursery. Baby black panther, sleeping, growing, bonded to me. Baby wolf cub, same deal. Now a dragon crocodile egg of questionable hatchability. The inventory functioned as an incubation pod where animals slept, grew slowly, and only needed periodic feeding. Both the panther and wolf had opened their eyes inside storage and imprinted on me immediately. Whether a reptile egg would cooperate was another matter entirely, but free dragon-blooded pets were worth experimenting with. Hotrilio begged me to stay longer. I declined. Winter was approaching, roads would freeze, and I needed to reach Black Rock City to apply for my pioneer license before snow buried the wasteland. That afternoon, I visited our logging operation in the Mist Forest and nearly hugged a tree. Nick and Irek had discovered white hardwood and ironwood. Materials so tough only Tier 3 soldiers with steel axes could cut them. Premium construction lumber worth fortunes in civilization. I loaded everything into my inventory alongside the existing oak stockpile. 5 inventory slots of legendary timber. Walking lumber empire. From there, I made a strategic decision: slow down. Instead of racing home, I followed the Mist Forest edge for 10 extra days, stopping whenever scouts found premium wood. Chop, store, move, repeat. 300 miles of leisurely timber harvesting disguised as travel. My inventory was becoming my greatest strategic asset. Instant fortress materials meant every night we slept safely behind 20-meter hardwood walls while other mercenary groups got eaten in their sleeping bags. 0 casualties, 0 losses, 0 stress. Other travelers probably thought we were wizards. I also started mentally designing saws. This world only used axes for logging. Nobody had invented proper saws yet. With ironwood being nearly axe-proof, a steel saw would revolutionize cutting speed. Another project for Wibart the blacksmith. Plus modular wall panels that Carpenter Soros could prefabricate, snap together fortress kits for instant deployment. Like medieval IKEA, but the instructions actually make sense. I briefly considered becoming a lumber merchant using my magical storage advantage. Buy trees in monster territory where they're free, sell in cities where they're expensive. Infinite profit margins. But that would expose my inventory secret faster than a politician's scandal. Shelved the idea until I had my own territory with a proper storefront. 5 inventory slots of wood. 1 dragon egg. 2 magical pets. 4 blood weapons. 10,000 gold coins. Not bad for a homeless noble riding through the rain.